Hola, buenos noches y bienvenidos. La emisión de español de la Overwatch Pacific Championship. Just kidding, this broadcast is going to be in English. My name is Matt Pixie Carroll, and joining me here tonight is going to be Kevin AVRL Walker to walk you through the beginning of Week 3 of the Overwatch Pacific Championship. What have we got for us tonight?
We're going to start with Blank Esports versus Hong Kong Attitude, and then following very shortly is going to be Machi Esports versus Hong Kong Attitude again. So Hong Kong Attitude going to be on the away side twice in a row.
They've got the back-to-back tonight, and both of those matches, I feel, are going to be quite interesting. And I believe we're going to be able to meet Blank Esports in just a few moments here as well. There you have it, Blank Esports taking the stage. The only Australian team in this tournament, as well we know, currently sitting at the top of the leaderboard, and they're going to be coming up against Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah. The only one of the other top teams Blank have yet to face, so I think this is going to be a good test for them tonight.
Yeah, it absolutely will be. I was actually talking about this before, though, because the one thing we have to keep in mind, I think, is Hong Kong Attitude's scoreline is a tad deceptive, right? Because they haven't actually played most of the top teams. In fact, most of their wins have been against teams like Detonator Gold and Sun Sister, who are actually sitting at the bottom of the standings. So here we have Hong Kong Attitude taking the stage. So also for Hong Kong Attitude, there's actually quite a lot for them to prove tonight.
Yeah, I think, you know, for Hong Kong Attitude, this is really one of the first, more of the challenging teams. They've already faced AHQ. They've got Flash Wolves this weekend as well. So it is a bit of a difficult weekend for Hong Kong Attitude. It's a really big test for them as well. And for Blank as well, you know, sort of said this already, but once Blank, you know, assuming that they're going to be able to overcome Hong Kong Attitude, that's essentially all of their biggest competition for Blank kind of out of the way.
Yeah. In fact, I think the only team they would have left to play this round robin would be Sun Sister, who, like I said, are bottom of the table. Now, Sun Sister will play one game before they meet Blank, so maybe they won't technically be the bottom team when that game comes around, but even so, I mean, we know what to expect of this. So yeah, you're right. For this first round robin, this is the last real test between Blank and an undefeated streak as far as anyone's concerned. Let's talk about the other side of that, the Hong Kong Attitude side, though, because I did touch on it. Hong Kong Attitude have a lot to prove tonight. They are desperate to pick up a serious win against a real contender.
I think it'd be like really crazy for them if they picked up a win against Blank tonight. I think
it'd be a shake-up and a half.
Even if they didn't pick up the full win, but if they took 2 maps off Blank, that's already a better performance than both AHQ and Flash Wolves have had against Blank so far.
So I honestly think even taking 1 game off Blank, I mean, that
would put them on par with AHQ and Flash Wolves, which would be a pretty good achievement for their team, and would be just a really good showing for, I guess, the Hong Kong and Taiwanese sides in general. I mean, so far, Machi have gone 0-3 to Blank, but Flash Wolves and AHQ have both taken a map off Blank so far. So if Hong Kong Attitude want to play on that level, want to stay on that level, they have to do at least that well.
And Hong Kong Attitude did actually play AHQ. First series we've had to go to a game 5. They were 2-0 up, so it was a reverse sweep by AHQ. That is a testament to AHQ's skill, don't get me wrong, but Hong Kong Attitude to end up in that position in the first place, to take AHQ to a game 5, that is no small thing. So maybe we can already look at these teams as potentially equivalent. So if we're talking about, you know, HK taking a map at least off Blank as pinning them around that same level as Flash Wolves and AHQ, then we can maybe argue that already at around that point, it would just really solidify them there, because they did lose the best of 5 that went to a game 5. So this solidifies it if they do take that map.
And even then, I felt like that particular best of 5 series, Hong Kong Attitude, had the ability to take it all the way. In fact, I was kind of, in my head, I had my money on Hong Kong Attitude already. I thought they were going to take it out in that final map. Unfortunately, fortunately for HQ, they ended up taking it out instead. So for Hong Kong Attitude, on some level, I guess they feel a little bit robbed out of that one. So Hong Kong Attitude to come into this game now, for them to have a good showing against Blank is going to be really important. But again, a win against Blank is going to be the biggest win so far for, I guess, any team in the tournament. This is now going to be the team side by side.
Yeah, let's take a look at...
And don't forget, Blank is going to be the home side today as well, which means they get to pick maps 1, 3, and 5, as well as the respective starting sides.
I think the crucial thing about that is tonight they're going to be able to pick Assault, which is the map type that they lost to both Flash Wolves and AHQ. So taking a look at the lineup, for those of you who are unfamiliar with this team, we of course have ATAR, Trill, RQT, Gunba, I Eat You Up, also known as Eat You Up, and Kiki. So, I mean, we already know these players quite well. We know where their flexibilities sort of lie. So is there anything in particular we kind of want to touch on about this lineup?
Yeah. If you get particularly lazy, you just call them eat up, which is what I'm Which is basically what I'm going to say throughout the broadcast tonight. Gumba, eat up, and Kiki. So, I think this is a very flexible lineup. They've shown quite a wide variety of different compositions. You've had varied compositions. You have triple DPS, which has been really effective. In fact, the composition that's been most effective against HQ and Flash Wolves so far, and the compositions that those two teams, the two Taiwanese teams in particular, have struggled against the most, is that triple DPS lineup from Blank, that triple threat of Trill, Kiki, Trill, ATAR, and Eat Up, which has been so threatening.
Yeah. And between the three of them, they also cover really all their offensive DPS bases in various ways. That's one of the other key things, is they've got multiple people who could pull out the Soldier or pull out the Genji as need be. They've got some who are slightly better than others. They've got slightly better Tracers. I'd put you up as being the slightly better Soldier. ATAR is the better Genji, so on and so forth. But if they are in a situation where they need ATAR on Tracer and they also need a Genji, they have those options. That's where a lot of the flexibility comes from, and you make a good point about it kind of meshing with their triple DPS style of play.
What's really amazing about Blank's composition as well is that they have at least two members that can play pretty much each hero for the offenses anyway. So you've got two Genjis there, Trill and ATAR both play Genji. You've got two Tracers there, two Soldiers there between Eat Up and ATAR. Again, you've got two Pharaohs there in between ATAR and Trill. So extremely flexible. Let's take a look at Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, so let's not take a look at Hong Kong Attitude, actually. Let's take a look physically at Hong Kong Attitude.
As they're sitting in their seats.
Yeah, let's play Guess the Player, all right? So you at home, you need to have a cutout of each player's face and each player's name, and you have to try and match them. It's like
you had about 2 seconds with the names and the faces, so now you got to...
Here we go. Names. Oh, it's actually... we don't have it. But there we go. There it is. Names and faces. What more could you ask for? But, I mean, let's just take a quick I nearly said the most colloquial thing. Let's have a geese. Let's have a quick geese of this team, mate. So, Mango Jai, K4, Shaolin, A-Ting, Jin Kao, and CQB, for those who are unfamiliar. First player I kind of want to touch on in that is Mango Jai. He is one of the more familiar players to, I would say, audiences who know Blank, because he was in the Summer Series, as was K4. K4, solid DPS player, pretty good Genji. Actually, let's not beat about the bush. Very good Genji. Mango Jai plays heal and fulfills a lot of the shot-calling roles of this team. But I still feel like he is yet to really come into his own on Hong Kong Attitude. He's still got that skill and that proficiency, but we haven't quite seen him be an absolute mastermind of that team just yet, whereas we did see that previously with him.
Well, what I'm really impressed with in terms of Hong Kong Attitude is how fresh they are as a team. Now, we've seen in their previous intro videos and this sort of that intro interview specifically where they're saying, look, they're a team that is more recently formed together. They're a team that has a lineup that's not as well tested, that doesn't have the experience together, and yet they're going to Game 5 against HQ. They've beaten every other competitor so far. They've beaten teams that are a little bit decently more established than they are. So realistically, I'm incredibly impressed with their lineup, and they're the team that exponentially, I feel, gets much better throughout the tournament.
Yeah.
Because they get through those early stages, over those early hurdles. The other teams have already managed to get themselves over, and yet they're either just on par with Hong Kong Attitude's gameplay level, or even behind. So I think Hong Kong Attitude got a decent amount of mileage left to go.
Yeah, I think you raised an interesting point there as well, because of the length of the tournament, right? Like, as much as I said their scoreline is quite deceptive, that is still quite true, and they still have a lot to prove in terms of games like this. You do actually raise a good point about their overall ceiling, because like I was just saying, we know that K4 is a really solid DPS player. We know how strong Mango Jai is as a shot caller, and I mean, even just mechanically as a player, he tends to play heal, or support, I suppose. They have a good lineup in terms of talent. They are a newer team, all things considered, so there is still that meshing process to go through. But you do have to ask the other side of that question, which is, can they actually mesh? Because we are in week 3, it is maybe starting to happen, but we can talk about a theoretical ceiling, but where the actual ceiling is can be a lot lower if they do fail to mesh as a team.
I think they've actually done a great job of meshing so far, which is why I'm excited to see how far they can really go and how high that ceiling actually is for this team. Because for a team that's only been together, I don't even realistically know for how long, but I imagine, only
less than 2 months.
Only realistically in the weeks leading up to the OPC, and only 2 of these members had that I'm aware of anyway. K4 and Mango came from the same team. Everyone else, they may have experienced with each other before, but essentially it is a totally fresh team.
And you've still got to put all those parts together.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be able to put everything together and make it all work.
Yeah.
And
2 people that have played together, joining 4 people that have played together is still not the same as 6 people that have all played together, which, for what it's worth, is exactly what they're coming up against in Blank,
Yes,
right?
it is.
Blank are one of, actually, it's unfair to say one of, they are the most consistent and stable roster to come out of the OC region so far.
I would say even in this whole tournament, to be honest.
Quite possibly. I can't quite speak for teams like Flash Wolves and AHQ, but certainly that is the case for Blank, and that I feel like has been one of the biggest things that you can credit their success to, right, is their sheer stability and their willingness to keep working at it. It helps that they are also very good players that play very well together, but then to also stay together, I mean, the saying is through thick and thin, they're good at the thick, they've stuck together through the thin. Now we're seeing a team that is really taking on the world stage. And like I said, they are the only team currently from the Oceanic region to do that. It works. Can these other Asia Pacific teams actually take similar lessons from that?
Well, I'll tell you what, I can speak to AHQ and Flash Wolves in the sense that Zonda did actually used to be a part of AHQ at some point. Not only that, but you've got members in Flash Wolves that were part of the Stay Frosty team, the Nameless TW team as well, back in Los Muertos, which, by the way, Blank played in under Fusion Girls, and even under Jam Gaming back in the day.
Yeah.
So but that's the same lineup that Blank has been playing with
past.
for months and months and months and months, and they played against different iterations of the current HQ and the Flash Wolves lineup in different sort of teams.
And beaten them.
Beaten
them at every step of the way. I think is the other key thing to note there.
Which is interesting to look at, because it does mean that those other teams, HQ and Flash Wolves, haven't been together as long as Blank has. But one interesting thing that I have heard from Blank is, although they have beaten those different iterations of the Taiwanese teams before, the current forms HQ and Flash Wolves are the strongest that these Taiwanese teams have been ever. So
and we have evidence of that as well, given that, like I said, both have so far been the only teams in this tournament to take maps off Blank.
I think deservedly so as well, because they're the 2 teams, and I think Hong Kong Attitude have the possibility to do that as well. But AHQ and Flash Wolves, they are the other 2 teams that have seriously impressed me throughout the tournament. Flash Wolves in particular, probably a little bit more so than AHQ.
For sure.
But Flash Wolves, coming from Blank's words themselves, they describe Flash Wolves as a team that is a Taiwanese superstar team. They've basically taken the best members from various different teams. You could even say like they took the superstar player from HQ, which was Zonda, and put him in Flash Wolves along with a bunch of other extremely proficient, well-known players, and formed what you could kind of describe as the powerhouse team of Taiwan. And Flash Wolves have, so far they haven't beaten Blank, but they're still an incredibly formidable team. And, Blank versus Hong Kong Attitude is going to be great, but I'm actually really looking forward to Hong Kong Attitude playing Flash Wolves this weekend as well.
Well, just to kind of jump on something you said there as well, I mean, one of the things we always have to talk about when we look at teams like Flash Wolves, I mean, if you wanted to put it in a word, you'd say super team, I suppose. One of the things with super teams as well is you do have that time of just forming and really coming together. Like what we were just saying with Hong Kong Attitude, right? And that's not something that Blank have to face. Blank have played and beaten Flash Wolves. Flash Wolves did take a map off them. By the time we get to round robin number 4, or dare I say playoffs, and I guarantee you Blank and Flash Wolves both are playoffs teams. If one of them doesn't make it, it will be because of upsets, right? When we get to round robin 4, when Flash Wolves have had a bit more experience under the belt and can become a bit more comparable to Blank in that regard, I think we start seeing much more even matchups throughout there, and even losing matchups for Blank. So Blank do need to earn the points now, make no mistake, because they have something all the other teams don't have right now, and that's sheer time together. But by the end of this tournament, the other teams are going to have that thing. And when that time comes, it is much harder to say that Blank are going to be as dominant as they're looking right now.
I think, for Blank as well, they're a team that has so far relied upon some level of anonymity amongst the sort of scene where they predominantly scrim Korean teams. You don't really get to see Blank play a lot. Now, they lose a lot of that throughout the duration of the tournament. They lose that mystery. As teams get to watch their games a lot more, analyze their games in particular, just really start to understand what they do. And you said it, like by the time we get to round robin number 4, I think
Teams have
teams
done that.
should have theoretically figured out blank. If you haven't,
Especially teams like Flash Wolves who have analysts.
if you haven't figured out blank by round robin 4, even round robin 3, really,
Then you shouldn't be a playoffs team.
There really is a problem there because now you've had a decent exposure, A, against playing blank in particular, and B, against just really being able to watch the games and analyze their games. This is no longer a blank team that can sort of just play their games in the shadows and just come out to the tournament and sort of pop and steal away the tournament and then run away again. This is a blank that is going to be more or less kind of revealed throughout this tournament, and in particular how they perform against all of these other sort of what we consider the top tier teams in the current OPC, of which Hong Kong Attitude I would put within that top 4 currently. So how blank perform against them, I believe Flash Wolves, both AHQ and Flash Wolves, will be closely watching this one.
Yeah, they absolutely will. And to kind of, again, just to jump on something you've said there, I feel like I just want to add a little thing before we move on, is we've actually already seen teams starting to work out blank a little bit. Like I said, the map that AHQ and Flash Wolves both beat blank on, it was Temple of Anubis and Hanamura. So they were both assault maps, and not exactly the same map either. So I feel like that is evidence of these two teams who come into this with a lot of support staff and analysts looking at how blank play assault, and previously blank have only ever played assault to kind of, you know, wild card out teams that they are already kind of better than. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily proficient at it, and this has been identified as an actual weakness of theirs when it's played against other teams of a comparable skill level. So that's quite interesting to have already seen that, and it definitely speaks to, like you said, the ability for these other teams to take it to blank and push for this top 4, and it's going to be crucial, like you said, to see if Hong Kong Attitude figure that same thing out tonight, because, as I touched on quite a few minutes ago now, blank are going to be picking map 3. Blank are going to be picking the assault map tonight.
Now, it's interesting you just going back to the top 4 comment, because while I do consider Hong Kong Attitude to be within the top 4, playoffs is only for the top 3 teams. So for a team like Hong Kong Attitude, they have a real sort of...
You have to step up one.
They have to be able to sneak past, not really sneak past, but they have to be able to get ahead of either HQ, Blank, or Flash Wolves currently if they want to be able to make playoffs. Now, we said, look, Blank looked like a playoffs team. Flash Wolves look like a playoffs team. Now, AHQ and Hong Kong Attitude, they both may look like playoffs teams also, but there's only room for 3 of them. So
we've got a lot of teams that look like they could be playoff teams.
So for Hong Kong Attitude, you know, it's not good enough for them to be top 4. They have to be top 3 to really be able to get it in. So I kind of want to, it almost looks like they're playing a little bit of catch up here, but there's a lot of pressure, I believe, on Hong Kong Attitude to be able to break into that top 3, which I think is somewhat securely held by Blank, Flash Wolves and HQ, particularly now that HQ have actually beaten Hong Kong Attitude. That, sure, it's the first round robin, but it does set a little bit of a precedent. It does mean that Hong Kong Attitude do come in at a bit of a disadvantage and do sort of secure themselves at number 4, which is good, but not good enough to get you into the playoffs.
Exactly. And I feel like there's an interesting kind of thing happening right now among the Taiwanese teams. This is just sort of relating to HKA. I mean, if we look at where they sit currently second in the standings, Flash Wolves, AHQ, Machi sit in that exact order below them, 3rd, 4th, 5th. And I feel like that is exactly representative of the relative skill of those 3 Taiwanese teams. If you put me up to just ranking those 3 teams on paper, that's where I'd put them. I'd say Flash Wolves, AHQ, Machi. Now that can change over the course of the tournament, don't get me wrong. But currently, HKA, to be in contention, must be better than 2 of those 3 teams. If we assume that those are 3 good teams, and if we assume that Flash Wolves are looking like a playoffs team, whether that's number 1 or number 2, HKA must be better than minimum 2 of those teams. Machi, quite possibly. AHQ, they've already lost 2. Now, to speak to that loss, the first 2 were big in favor of HKA, and then the other 3 were hard fought and hard lost. So it was a tight series, and when HKA were winning, they were winning harder than when AHQ were winning, but they still lost the series. That's what is going to matter in the end. That's what's going to be the difference between making playoffs and not, right? So I feel like win or lose here, that's where those real tests are going to be for HKA in terms of making playoffs. It's not can you beat Blank, it's can you eke into that 3rd spot, because if they beat Blank, then like suddenly, surprise, surprise, they're like the number 1 team and no one saw it. That seems a little far-fetched. I think it's more likely that they're looking to be that 3rd, maybe 2nd playoff spot.
And it's interesting you brought up Machi because Hong Kong Attitude do play Machi straight after Blank. And Machi is another team that it's important for Hong Kong Attitude to be able to come over because although I do rate them as a top 4 team, if they don't beat Machi, then suddenly they drop down to the number 5 position, and Hong Kong Attitude, their chances of making that top 3 for playoffs suddenly look a lot worse if they come behind Machi. Now, still in round robin number 1. Now, again, Hong Kong Attitude are a team that I believe have a decent ceiling that they can sort of, throughout the weeks, kind of reach and attain, but falling behind Machi today would be a big blow to Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, it would be something that they spend the next 2 round robins recovering from if they are still looking to make playoffs, rather than spending the next 2 round robins trying to push up their skill level so that they can feel a little bit more secure in having a playoff spot. And I think you make a really good point that tonight is actually probably going to determine a lot of how Hong Kong Attitude approach the rest of this tournament, because it is going to tell both us and, more importantly, them where exactly they sit relative to these other teams, relative to both Blank, who are quite possibly going to be in contention for the first or maybe second playoff spot, and Machi, who right now we can probably consider being the gatekeepers of pushing into the top 4.
Yeah, that's the interesting. I think that game, particularly Hong Kong Attitude versus Machi, is going to be the deciding game for top 4. Whoever wins that, I'm going to be able to pretty safely say, and I think results can kind of speak for themselves there as well, but that team will be the current number 4 team in the competition for sure. And against Blank, so Hong Kong Attitude versus Blank, like I said, for Hong Kong Attitude, it would be a victory for them if they just took a map. It would be a huge victory for them to take 2 maps. If they took...
To take 2 maps would practically be like winning in terms of what it means for them as a team.
Because that would be a better showing
better result than what Flash Wolves. Yeah.
So, for Hong Kong Attitude, it kind of puts them down. I don't want to take anything away from them, but taking 2 maps would be an incredibly good victory for them. Actually beating Blank would be kind of unheard of.
Oh, now it would make you excited for HKA Flash Wolves.
That's what that would do. Because that would really suddenly put Hong Kong Attitude in a much more favorable. In fact, I would then almost expect Hong Kong Attitude to beat Flash Wolves. Now, for the Machi game, I do expect Hong Kong Attitude to kind of beat Machi because currently, I think Hong Kong Attitude do just sort of edge from what I can tell between having seen both the 2 teams play. I feel like Hong Kong Attitude do sort of edge out Machi in a way, in my sort of personal opinion. Now, that could change when we actually get to that match because I think it should be a rather close series. That being said, Machi, I think, have had not a super great run, so I think they've had a difficult run. I think they have.
They have been very troubled.
I think they come ahead of, say, Detonator, Sun Sister, and Fireball, but those are teams that have struggled even more than Machi so far. And for a team like Hong Kong Attitude that's had a really good performance against HQ in a series that I expected Hong Kong Attitude to be able to take out, I think that puts them ahead of Machi in my book so far.
I'm going to pause what I was about to say. Just real quick, as you may be able to tell, there are a few technical issues going on, so it's a good thing. I have a lot to say about this. So
let me buckle in.
Machi, let me tell you why you're wrong. So Machi, much like Hong Kong Attitude, beat Sun Sister and Detonator Gold, if I'm not mistaken. So some of their wins are coming from beating the current bottom of the table teams who, without wanting to be mean about it, pretty much everyone in this top 4 is going to have no trouble beating right now, at least for this first round robin. Things may change for these 2 Japanese teams in the future. But unlike Hong Kong Attitude, Machi lost to Fireball. The other thing, though, is Hong Kong Attitude beat Fireball before they made the big change up they made at the end of last week, which was taking Zalsk off Reinhardt and putting Rocket on Winston and running that as their tank. It leaves them very one-dimensional, very dive-heavy, but Hong Kong Attitude, I feel, beat a weaker iteration of Fireball. Machi lost to a better iteration of Fireball. Now, I was also going to kind of bring Fireball into this discussion in a moment because I also feel like if anyone's going to kind of blue shell out of nowhere, that's going to be where it comes from. But we may actually have to touch on the rest of this later. I believe we may be able to get into the game in a few moments. We will, of course, have Blank versus Hong Kong Attitude. For those who didn't see it flash up on your screens before, first map is Lijiang Tower. Blank already resoundingly 1-0 up. Let's get stuck in.
Wow. They certainly are one up already, and they're 40% up already on this next cap. So we're on to Gardens. Blank, I don't even know what map Blank already won, but oh, it's looking good.
They are really looking good. Trill, this is, I mean, we talked about it. One of their flexible options is their,
goodbye,
there it is.
Jinko.
Yeah, the Farah play and just straight into it. K4 getting it, nothing with the Dragon Blade.
Yeah, he's just got to sort of chill out.
Look, we've only come into this like partway through, but Blank look like they are in their stride, and Blank are not a team that get shifted from their stride with any kind of ease.
Oh, this is, you know, this is a lot of Hong Kong Attitude members sort of just falling over. And the triple DPS coming up from Blank again is really interesting. This is the lineup that every Taiwanese team, so I would just say every team in the competition has incredibly struggled to go up against. And for Hong Kong Attitude, this is no different. They're struggling.
And I love how they run it with the Mercy as well. I mean, partly they do it because of the Farm Mercy combo, but the other reason they do it is because of this triple DPS, right? You lose 2, normally that's a death sentence. There's still 1 who can protect the Mercy. Mercy gets a tempo raise, and they just get right back on the horse and keep going. And again, if they can't beat it, generally speaking, maybe they get past it once. They can't get past it a second time in a row. No Taiwanese team has cracked that just yet. Hong Kong Attitude definitely not looking like a team ready to crack it either. Yeah, 100 to 0.
I feel like we just got here.
Wonder
it's 2-0, we just got here.
It makes you wonder whether the first map was a shutout as well.
Did you see the coordination, just sort of that last kill as well? Aito and Trill just completely annihilated Jinkao from the sky. Like, Trill, I think we saw it from Trill's point of view, but he sort of dashed in air, threw his shurikens, and at the same time, an air shot from Trill just connected into the back of Jinkao. So, I mean, the DPS is what's really effective about the triple DPS from Blank as well. Why it's working so well for them is the ability, now even just 2 DPS for Blank coordinate extremely well, that we can just see, but 3 DPSs for Blank on the same target is a death sentence for anyone on the outside.
Okay, so just real quick, this is going to be Night Market, so that tells us the first map that was already won was Control Center. Yeah, so we may see one of those 2 other maps repeat, but if Blank win this shutout, then that's not going to happen at all, and already picking off 18 is a pretty good way to get started on that. K4 already in trouble and in full retreat as Trill gets himself cozily nestled in this point to stop anyone from really contending it. But now Blank well set up.
And Trill's actually onto the Genji as well, which, you know, Aito's on the Soldier, so this is what we were kind of talking about earlier, where you got multiple players that can sort of fill in different DPS roles, which is so unique for Blank.
And I'm liking how they're pairing this up with the Zenyatta. I mean, it's sort of a natural kind of thing for dive comps, but they're kind of anchoring it in by running the Soldier. But here we have HKA kind of turning it around. Yeah, IQT did get a very crucial kill though on 18, but with him going down onto Jinkao, it actually does look like HKA have figured out a way to swing back. I feel like it's just a weakness in Blank running a slightly more dive-heavy thing. They weren't quite able to set themselves up on the point yet with ults up. HKA, good moves by taking that.
I actually feel like HKA, their biggest advantage here is going to be the Graviton Surge. You know, for Blank, they don't have a lot of counterplay to the Graviton. The one big tool they have against that is Transcendence. If they don't have Transcendence, I do believe that Blank are going to get team wiped basically on every single well-placed Graviton Surge. Against the Jinkao, he's already on 97%. It's going to come up very, very soon. Expect big plays from Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, we do have the Transcendence here as well, though, but they're going to be forced out with the sound barrier as Kiki gets picked off. They do get a trade back, so Jinkao's actually out of the picture. That could be big for Blank if K4 doesn't get too much with this. It's going to be the Transcendence forced out to kind of counter it out, and it does work, but that was a... nearly said beat drop there, but that was a sound barrier as well. Blank still with the numbers disadvantage, actually, now, even up with 18 going down. It's hard to say if Blank can really get on this point, but they are going to force K4 off, and it does look like Hong Kong Attitude are well split. Blank making the most out of picking Jinkao. He is about to come back with the Graviton, and here it goes. Not even letting Blank cap the point, and yeah, catches everyone. Kind of caught napping a little bit there, maybe didn't realize he'd respawn. And Blank actually are looking a little bit stiff up against the Zarya here.
It's almost sort of fortunate for Jinkao to have died early to the pulse pump, because he didn't use Graviton Surge into either Sound Barrier or Transcendence. Now, for Blank, they should have sort of known this. They know that those are the only 2 defensive options, and Transcendence was obviously the better option against Graviton Surge, but like I said, Gravis are the big tool for Hong Kong Attitude to stay in this game and to even win this game. And for Blank, if they don't have Transcendence up, they're not going to live against it at all.
You can't keep relying on picking Jinkao as well. He's not an easy pick to make. They do get a team, but losing Trill, once again, these trades are actually even. That is good news for HKA because they are the ones currently on the point, but Blank looking to cap. And actually, no one contested. They were even for a good long time, and no one really stood a foot on the point, and now able to clean up means actually Hong Kong Attitude end up on the back foot where they should have stayed on the front foot.
Yeah, for Hong Kong Attitude, they should have really been able to cap way into the 90%. If they had sort of pushed it to roughly 95, 96%, that would mean they can actually get a cap and then prevent Blank from potentially even touching it for a contest. So now they're in a position where, while they do have a decent amount of progress to work with, I feel like they have to wait for another graviton before they can really get something.
Well, they're going to open up with a Nano Blade though, which was the other thing they had in the pocket, but only getting
No
Icy
dash.
Team might not be good enough because the trade's coming back, but getting you up changes things around a little bit, and ATAR without the tactical visor left has already used it up, didn't quite close off 18, and they are going to do pretty handily on this one. Hong Kong Attitude, still a couple of members to pick off, but it doesn't look like anyone from Blank wants to contest this. They're going to go live to fight another day, and there's only 1 day left if they want to cap this point back. Ooh, K4, careful.
Yeah, 94% now. Hong Kong Attitude, they should have capped that just a little bit earlier. I felt like they were a bit too slow to get that cap in there. 99%, this is what I'm talking about.
They're
Blank are
onto it.
forced to play this point now.
They're onto it, but they'd already picked 18, and now getting Jin Kao that's opened this wide up, and there is no way you can stop Blank from barraging through this door now. The siege is underway.
Blank
as they just take dives. K4, he's just going to leave this one alone, and that was all on 18 playing greedy, trying to over-route and overextending.
Check this out. Jin Kao has another Graviton Surge, and Blank do not have Sound Barrier or Transcendence. They've just made
resources,
the exact same mistake against Graviton Surge. Again, Hong Kong Attitude, this is their chance. All they need is one good grab. They will win it 100% if the grab catches 3 to 4
This
members.
is smart. They're going for an early sound barrier so that Jin Kao can't get picked. And they've already got Trill. Where were you there that you got booped by CQB? And now they're just opening up. IEU is the only one who can get anything.
Down.
And it wasn't enough. Yeah, there they go. Just getting completely cleaned up. That was all ultimate advantage. HK really just playing that one by the book. Unless IEU plays out of his mind. No such mind left in his head. And that is going to be HKA taking one of these matches Lijiang off Blank. Let's see if they can keep it going. I feel like they figured out something good, but Blank can just
Blank should have learned their lesson. I hate to say I told you so, but grab was the only issue for Blank to deal with, and they didn't deal with it. They didn't save anything for it. They were forced into using the defensive ultimates early every single time. Now, I don't know what it is with Jin Kao, but him dying early prevents him from wasting the Graviton Surge. Now, it prevents him from using it, but for Blank, the good job that they do is killing Jin Kao to stop him from grabbing, but then they don't plan around Jin Kao respawning and reusing the grab.
And
so that's cost them 2 major fights.
And that's not
in a row.
Actually a reliable counter, right? Your counter should be, let's counter what this team comp is trying to do, not, oh, let's just always kill Jin Kao. Because what about the one time you don't? But here is another shift up for Blank, quite possibly what they pulled out first time in Control Center. And I feel like this should be much more comfortable for them.
Well, the last Control Center, we didn't get to see it, but I feel like it was a bit of a shutout. So
oh, look at that long charge for 18 compared to the short charge out of Trill, and he gets punished for it. So now one Reinhardt down, HK not going to have much of a fun time on this point. K4 trying to get cheeky, picking a healer, but he's really just too deep, going to get picked off, and now Blank, once again, going to have precedence over this point.
You know, I'm going to they've got to back out already. They've got to be careful about getting spawn camped there as well. Blank, they're a very sort of aggressive team when it comes to positioning, so they want to be able to keep Hong Kong Attitude just in the sort of choke area and wait for an Earth Shadow from Trill.
Well, they're going to try and make something happen with K4. He is going to get one. Actually, they're going to be able to clean up quite nicely. He got onto a few too many exposed healers. They're going to commit a couple more resources to it, but they are going to make it happen. There we go. They're actually going to get this one completely off Blank. That was really just K4 playing out of his mind, really.
Actually, I believe it was Hong Kong Attitude managed to bank up the correct ultimates there. They had K4's, they had the Dragon Blade ready to go, so although they were sort of held in the choke, they were sort of easy pickings for K4, just stashing through his Dragon Blade, picking off the back line. Yeah, the Blank didn't. They were sort of behind in that regard, so now they're playing in a situation where they are getting their ults into play now. You know, they're about to hit 5 ultimates, so they should be in a good position.
Well, in any case, the grab out is already one pick out of the picture. There's no nano boost to combine with this Dragon Blade as ATAR already kind of finding nothing. Getting a pick on K4 towards the end of it, but the Blade is going to go back in the sheath with nothing much found for it. They have managed to out-position Hong Kong Attitude, so they are probably going to have to retreat here. Wow, getting a pick on Mango Jai is really nice there as 18 is exposed. And that was a really, I'm going to say that was a silly Earth Shadow.
Yeah, there's nothing he was going to get out of that. I don't understand what that was at all. Even if he landed it on everybody, he doesn't have the damage to actually win that team fight. He was always going to die in the end. That Earth Shadow was always going to be wasted. Him using that there, just bad call.
All right, now let's see if Blank have the right ultimates banked up to pull out the same defense. Same tactic again for Hong Kong Attitude, trying to open up with the Dragon Blade. All they find is ATAR as the self-destruct kind of zoned the rest of the team off as ATAR cleaned them up. And that is not how it went last time for Hong Kong Attitude. This time they are at an ultimate disadvantage and they do not have that Dragon Blade
Yeah, they don't really record the ults properly either because they should have known they're playing at a disadvantage. They should have known, look, we only got one ultimate going into this. Blank have at least 2, maybe 3 ultimates, probably Graviton series they haven't used yet. They shouldn't have committed any ult to that fight at all. Losing the Dragon Blade of K4 is a big deal.
And this is just huge for them, already catching CQB in the Earth Shatter. They didn't even need to kill the second person knocked down by that. It didn't even catch who it was. Too many swinging hammers on the screen. But Trill just kind of one-man armying that one there, just catching the rest of Hong Kong Attitude exposed, and they cleaned up the front line at the same time.
And now Hong Kong Attitude, they're in the same spot they were sort of earlier in the game. They got out of this spawn chokehold earlier due to the fact that they had a decent number of ultimates. I think Blank are actually smart to, I don't know, they could have probably chosen to keep that choke a little bit longer. They don't have that many ultimates on the other side to sort of deal with, but they just want to play this one safe. They don't know exactly what Hong Kong Attitude have in the bank here, so they don't want to risk it.
I feel like without the Graviton and the Earth Shatter, they didn't want to risk it, but already 18.
That was a great
there's the Earth Shatter to come out as 18 dropped the shield at a crucial moment as ATAR just sweeps them all over. And that's just going to be a clean win for Blank there. 3-1. Had a couple of FE moments there, but I can really just credit Hong Kong Attitude with playing well and on Night Market. Blank not adapting, but that was exactly the kind of performance we expect out of Blank.
Honestly, I thought that was kind of, I don't want to say winnable, but at the same time, I want to say that it was the possibility for Hong Kong Attitude to win Control Center was there. I could see where they really made their mistakes, and look, they definitely made mistakes, and Ting is, in particular, is a player that I have so far in the games that I've seen him in, as a tank player that I consider to be one of the better tank players in the competition, one of the sort of the top tank players in the competition, but some of the decisions he made in that game in particular, that was kind of unlike him, but at the same time, I don't know, that just...
Yeah.
A top tier Reinhardt should not ever be making those kind of plays.
Yeah, there was a really crucial one that I did actually pick out there on Control Center. Very early in that opening skirmish, Trill went for a charge. He went for a short charge. He made sure he was up against the wall beside the stairs. So it was a very short charge indeed, was still able to retreat back to the team. And that was how they tried to break the line. It didn't work, but he did it safely. Ting, he went for a charge that ran him right the way down the stairs. He had nowhere to retreat to. His back is exposed at that point, and your team can't bail you out. So even just that as being a bit of a slip up for Ting, like you say, I mean, that's something that we see, put simply, the inferior Reinhardt do compared to someone like Trill. That's not the way Ting normally plays, so he does need to clean that up.
That's just very unreserved play. It's very...
Very undisciplined.
Yeah, extremely undisciplined play. You know, then, you know, of course, the random Earth Shatter that was not going to achieve anything. Then dropping a shield to Trill, which gave Trill, like, a game-winning Earth Shatter. So just various things that really cost his team a lot. Actually,
2 game-winning Earth Shatters as well, because the earlier one, when they were using their sort of aggressive defense tactic, it was the same situation. Actually, Ting was right in front of Trill, and Trill landed an ultimate. He only caught 2 people in the ultimate, but they were both of the healers. He only needed to kill 1, because by that point, Ting was trying to save his healer, so his shield was still down, and he was absorbing all this damage, and his backline was absorbing damage. As the Reinhardt, if you've already whiffed that one moment of dropping the shield when you should have had it up, and your healers are caught in an Earth Shatter, you have to defend them, but you have to defend them in ways that aren't just swinging your hammer at the Reinhardt in front of you, because you're taking damage, your team is taking damage, and you're providing none of the things Reinhardt's making. You aren't DPS. You need to have the discipline to keep the shield up, or maybe, and this is like 10% of the time, go for an opportune charge. So I think you highlight a very, very key factor there, at least on their Control Center last map there, Ting not on form.
The other big mistake for Hong Kong Attitude as well is the way they managed to break out of the chokehold was they were in ultimate advantage. They were able to get K4 out there with the Dragon Blade and be quite successful with that. That's how they broke out the first time. Now, the second time around, K4 had the Dragon Blade again. Now, for the rest of Hong Kong Attitude, they were caught in the Graviton surge by Eat Up. They were just caught in that Grav self-destruct combo as well, so Kiki was there with the mech. And that's a big problem because Hong Kong Attitude didn't identify they were actually behind in ultimates. They committed ultimates into a fight that they should not have committed in. They should have played that ult list. They should have played that. They should have gone for the fight, but forced the ultimates out of blank and not play the ultimates themselves. Then they would have probably been in the same chokehold again. However, they would have been at the ultimate advantage in that sort of position. Then they would have ulted themselves out of it, just like the first time around. But because K4 used a Dragon Blade earlier, He didn't have that the second time around to be able to come back in the fight. And I feel like for Hong Kong Attitude, they've relied a lot on K4, especially with his Dragon Blaze, to get them out of tricky situations. So when they didn't have that, that's when they started to fall apart.
And much like what we were saying when we were being critical of Blank on the map before that, their entire strategy, their only ticket to winning, basically, I don't even want to call it a strategy because it didn't look particularly planned, but the only way they could have won that was to literally always be killing Jin Kao. And similarly, Hong Kong Attitude in that last one, their only ticket to victory was literally always getting 3K, 4Ks out of K4 Real. So that's just not reliable enough, and that's not good enough for Hong Kong Attitude. The one thing I do also want to speak to, sort of a slightly separate thing, I want to give credit where credit's due for Blank, right? Very early on in that, they committed to that kind of defensive style where you're basically just trying to kettle the enemy team in their base, going very far forward on control center, and it didn't work. A lot of the time it works for Blank, and the reason it didn't work the first time was because they didn't have the right ultimates banked up. Then when they recapped the point, went for the same defense, it worked because they did have the ultimates banked up, and then there was a third time where they backed off from doing that because they didn't have the ultimates banked up. So they learned from the first time, which is very, very crucial. So as much as we kind of lambasted them the map before that, where they weren't really learning from how weak their team comp was to just the sheer existence of Jin Kao, they did then learn later. Whereas I don't think Hong Kong Attitude at any point in that series really adapted themselves to what Blank were doing. They just happened to get good wins and good kills in certain places.
Now, what's interesting about Blank's composition on 9 Market is if they had the Pharaoh Mercy, the Pharmacy combo again, that would be a lot stronger against the Graviton than the composition that they ended up having.
And so, they're a team that loves doing that on 9 Market.
I feel like they should have stayed with the Pharmacy combo. That would have been a lot stronger against the Grav, because really the Grav was the only win condition for Hong Kong Attitude, and in that particular scenario, the only win condition they needed, the only win condition they realistically require to be able to win, because for Blank, they've got everything working for them except a way to counter the Grav. You know, maybe they can play around it by just sort of spreading themselves out a bit further, or, you know, just sort of playing in a position where they're trying to have as little members as possible actually being sucked in. But beyond that, they had to rely on one of the 2 defensive ultimates, and both the times Grav came up, they didn't have either.
Yeah, well, I feel like a part of the lack of switching comes down to how they put their team comp together, but I feel like it should be a little bit self-explanatory. Just, you know, Dive is a very all-in kind of thing, and because of who plays what on their team, they would have had to change pretty much everyone in order to switch it up. But let's look ahead of ourselves now, having very much disseminated what has been. And the next map, as you can see on your screens, is going to be King's Row. So this one is going to, of course, be Hong Kong Attitude's map pick. And I find that very, very interesting given Blank's performances on King's Row.
Everyone picks King's Row against Blank so far. I think the only team that didn't pick King's Row against Blank is Detonator, who picked Numbani. So every other team...
Which was folly.
You could almost say that picking King's Row is kind of folly against Blank as well. You can say picking
I would say
any
picking Numbani is more folly. That's like trying to kick the Romans out of Rome. But in any case, King's Row, not King's Rome, is going to be the map as HKA are assaulting it. They're doing a good job actually of getting in behind Blank, already taking out Trill. Their offense, credit where credit's due, is looking very, very clean here. They actually keep Shaolin alive, which is very key, picking out ATAR as well now. And they got the healers nice and exposed. Yeah, Blank actually should fall over here. HKA do need to close off a couple more kills, but yeah, there we go. Getting Gunba should be all they need. Even with the respawns coming in from Trill, I feel like he's just walking into his death now, because Hong Kong Attitude keeping members on the point, keeping it ticked up. Good offense by them, actually. Really, really good offense.
Yeah, good dive by Hong Kong Attitude. They definitely understand how to play the dive here. They play the... Shaolin and K4 have really good sort of coordination, just like what we're seeing out of the Blank DPSs. I think Hong Kong Attitude have really good coordination of their DPS as well. But the combination of Diva Winston as well, and then the Discord Orb from Mango Jai, everything just sort of works for them, but a very quick take on the first capture point. That's going to really give Hong Kong Attitude a lot to work with coming into checkpoint number 2.
But here we're going to see Blank's skill at reacting to this. They know to take the early fight, draw out some ultimates so they can take a second fight.
Shutdown.
Oh, excuse me, yeah, the shutdown indeed. They do pick off Gunba, but ATAR should be able to keep getting damage done. this is just something swinging the way of HKA, as they are picking up all the kills now, and Blank not quite getting exactly what they wanted, because actually off the back of this, HKA are still going to have the ultimates in the pocket.
What the only thing they could have really, the one thing they should have done a little bit better was if Mango Jai used Transcendence just a little bit early, he would have probably have kept K4 alive, which would have gotten them a bit more mileage out of the Dragon Blade and maybe have saved Shaolin from having to use a ultimate. At the same time, Shaolin's done a great job of charging that one back anyway. They got 3 ultimates coming online. They're going to be out going up against 4 ultimates. Here comes Self-Destruct.
Yeah, here we go. Big committal, and Trill, does get picked off right at the end. Too late from RQT on the sound barrier. AVRL, he should be able to get Mango here, but he's taking a long time to do it. I don't know what more he'll get. He doesn't have a Dragon Blade to commit just yet, though, so getting that kill is very key for them. And Kiki with the self-destruct pulling all the mileage, and they are going to find a spot to defend. And actually drew, crucially, 2 ultimates. 3 ultimates actually out of Hong Kong Attitude. So they didn't get this earlier, which is when they wanted it, but they got it now, which tells me that HKA slipped up bad in that fight. Oh, I lied.
Okay.
That's out of nowhere.
Once Kiki dies, I think this is it. I don't think anyone's really still alive.
Yeah,
Trill's back into the fight now. RQT's back in the fight, but I feel like they're going to go down as well.
Yeah, they would have to have committed
momentum. We're going to cap again.
They'd have to have committed big ultimates. That was actually Blank after Hong Kong Attitude split up, overstaying in that fight and letting Hong Kong Attitude use their last couple of ultimates. I mean, Hong Kong Attitude are a reckless team. They throw away ultimates when maybe they shouldn't, but that time, even though they shouldn't have done it, strictly speaking, it worked. And if it worked, that's all that counts.
I just got to say, Hong Kong Attitude have not dropped a single fight so far in Kings Row. Both fights, they've now won, and Trill's been picked out at the start of every single one of those. There's the grab, straight into Transcendence as well, but AVRL goes down for Blake.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Trill having to hold his tongue there with the Earth Shatter, and AVRL is
Lands
well
it.
dead. Yeah, he lands it nicely, but no follow-up damage and no AVRL to kind of Dragon Blade those caught lying on their backs. Blank, they still actually have to find a spot to defend because they've lost the stall power of that Earth Shatter. AVRL now too busy trying to deal with flankers. The payload is a fair way back though, and Blank are going to get the respawn advantages. They should be able to find a position to hold still, but there is plenty of time on the clock for HK to push this one through.
There's a lot of Blank members just sort of falling over, just on the sides. I mean, they're just losing members every now and then. It's really awkward for Blank to try and keep this one in the game. They are committing some ultimates now, so they should be able to clean this one up. You know, AVRL in particular getting most of the kills here. That's going to be a full team wipe. Hong Kong Attitude going to have to reset.
Yeah, that was actually huge for them there. I mean, I don't want to say it came out of nowhere. That's really expected. They had the ultimates in the pocket. They had the respawn advantage. HK didn't have the right position to really take that fight. It was in Blank's favor. They executed it well, and they won a fight they should have won. The question is now, can Hong Kong Attitude come back and win the fight that they should win because they have the ultimate advantage and the payload is in an offensible spot for them?
This is a bad spot for Blank because they only have 1 ultimate. Yeah, RQT's about to get sound barrier, but they have nothing offensive to really use. Killing Mango Jai is pretty big here.
That's really big for them,
trade.
actually. That's no Transcendence for them, and they are charging up the ultimates quick enough. Oh, but picking off AVRL, that's one of their key DPS ultimates. A-Ting is doing a lot of work on the backline. He's not going to be able to kill Gunba, maybe. Actually, he's going to probably get a last... Oh, what a sleep. Gunba saving his life. But that took up so much time. A-Ting is going to get collapsed upon now as his ultimate runs out. He's still going to pick off Gunba off the back end of it. Yeah, there's no more follow-up because K4 kind of dove into his teammate's rescue as well he should. And with 3 minutes on the clock, Hong Kong Attitude, they look like they're going to push this one through unless Blank pull out something crazy with the respawn advantage. Still...
Transcendence available.
Yeah, and that should be able to keep them alive through any kind of nano boost here. Depends even on who they put it on. Is going to be AVRL, but again, no Dragon Blade, and he can't out-damage a Transcendence, gets
That's going to be a cap.
That is going to be a cap, and with
a fast
not
one
a
too.
Bad time on the clock at all.
Yeah, that's only 1 fight lost for Hong Kong Attitude, pretty much at all. I mean, they had
and it was a fight that anyone would win for Blank.
For any defensive team that was they had an ultimates at that stage, in Blank, they had to find, they only found 1 fight where they realistically were at an advantage for one. I think Hong Kong Attitude had a really great run in terms of momentum and keeping that momentum going throughout checkpoints 1 and 2. I mean, that's super quick caps on both checkpoints 1 and 2. Now, when you get to checkpoint 3, that's when the defense is expected to be able to find at least 1 fight win. But the defense for Blank never really stabilized there. Even after getting that win, Hong Kong Attitude came back in and were able to secure the next few kills and then the fight in general, get the cap out. And I gotta say, a pretty commanding attack from Hong Kong Attitude. This is a very impressive attack so far.
And I feel like what that last defense came down to out of Blank was a complete and utter lack of DPS, consistently so, right? They had AVRL on the Genji. I believe they also had a Tracer out there. They didn't have like a Zarya.
It was like a counter dive defense, actually. Yeah, Tracer Genji, you're playing counter dive defense, except they never had initiative to actually make the dive.
Exactly.
They were always on the back foot and they never dove first, even though that's the goal of their composition, and they never achieved that.
Exactly.
They never executed.
And the reason for that is, like I said, right when it happened, after that first point is capped, the strategy there, if you've been capped quickly, is you take a very early fight, you draw out ultimates, so that you can then take a more favorable fight before the second point gets capped there. Blank, they didn't quite get a successful enough fight there, and then on the second fight, Hong Kong Attitude, they're in for a penny, in for a pound. They committed ultimates where normally a lot of teams wouldn't. That caught Blank by surprise. Blank are not a team that should be getting caught by surprise.
Yeah, I was kind of almost questioning Hong Kong Attitude making the full commit. I thought they would have been a bit more reserved and not went for the full commit there. I felt like it was super risky and almost didn't pay off, but ended up paying off and put them way ahead. But here we go. Now it's going to be Blank on the attack.
Yeah, we're going to have to see if they can crack this one equally as fast as Hong Kong Attitude.
They get to play the dive they want to play now.
At this point, they've got to take it to time bank. And yeah, they get to play the dive they want to play. Already it's working off as they've completely separated 18. That's a big one for them. He gets the bubble on for a second, but he's going straight on down. And K4 on the high ground isn't actually on the ground with his team to contest these divers and put the solid DPS on them. So Blank, even as this fight is getting protracted, they are still the ones capping the point out, and now they're getting the picks to close it out.
Yeah, I gotta say, Ting is really starting to fall apart for me today. He's really kind of, I feel, letting down Hong Kong Attitude. Like, just getting caught out like that.
On the offense, he looked great though.
On the offense, it was good because they had the initiative. Now, whenever Hong Kong Attitude don't have the initiative and they're on the back foot and they have to be on the reactionary end, that's where I feel like they're not up to scratch, and particularly for a Ting today. I don't know what's going on with the guy, but he's consistently being caught out and he's consistently costing his team a lot of these fights. Yeah,
well, maybe more to say that between the matches as well, because right now what we're seeing on our screens is just classic, not just Blank play, but now everyone playing now, going really aggressive on this, sitting one person on the payload to keep it moving, and it's working. Hong Kong Attitude are continuing to have the initiative robbed of them, like you've been saying, and there's plenty of position here for Blank. Oh, that is an amazing stick onto 18 to cut him right out of this one, and again, robbing them of initiative with minimal resource usage, as the payload is now fast passing a lot of the defensible spots for Hong Kong Attitude. They've really got this last corner, and that's even if they can find that.
That is such a great push from Blank as well. They've gotten so much mileage out of this sort of aggressive play. And, you know, for a team like Hong Kong Attitude, they should have been able to get this defense going. 6v5. Now Eitar's going to go on a roll. Dragon, actually, he doesn't. He gets shut down.
He
so
tried to use his sword to jimmy open that door, but it was a little bit too stiff there. They are getting it done in other ways, though, just getting consistent picks here and there, relying on the individual skill as they take out the DPS, now looking to close out on the tanks, and they should still be able to push this run through. I mean, even though he died, maybe Eitar actually just kind of gave them the space to win. I say maybe, no, that's a definite. He gave them the space for the rest of the DPS to win that. This is going to be a point cap, and actually Blank, looking at the ultimates, still have initiative to push this further.
Wow, they're getting a lot of pickups here as well. They're doing fantastic for time. I'd say they're actually doing better than Hong Kong Attitude for time so far. So currently both teams doing great on attack, and you know, for Blank, sitting on 4 ultimates, I don't know how Hong Kong Attitude are going to win this next one. They have to be able to get consistently more picks, particularly the picks on the players with ultimates to prevent the ultimates from coming out.
Yeah, I mean, if Blank didn't have the initiative on the defense because they made some slip-ups, Hong Kong Attitude don't have it because Blank aren't giving it to them. They are controlling this matchup. They are dictating it start to finish. This is the only opportunity Hong Kong Attitude have to win a fight, because it's looking like one of those fights where really anyone should win. But even then, they're having trouble. They can't quite close out the kills, even having got Shrill and Eitar, and they're the ones losing members now. K4, it is not safe for him to commit that Dragon Blade, so he just has to hold on to it. They're going to commit a self-destruct, and all that's going to buy is space and time for Blank to respawn. They do pick Gunva, but that's probably not enough, because now Blank with ultimate advantage will get respawns and are going to come back swinging.
To be fair, I think Hong Kong Attitude did a great job defending there. They won a fight that they were not expecting. I did not expect them to win that. They should have been a fight Blank that they should have won. 4 ultimates to no ultimates. Blank really messed up by not securing that one in the bag. I think Troll getting picked out earlier was a big mistake for Blank. Now for Hong Kong Attitude, they're sitting on Transcendent, they're sitting on Dragon Blade, and here comes K4. He's got to get something done here.
He absolutely does, and that's going to be Gunva popping the ultimate, keeping the team nice and safe, everything we expect. They do take out 8U up, but losing 18 means they're tanked down, and K4 in full retreat means he can't really contribute as Trill goes deep. They're making it work now, because Eitar with his Dragon Blade gets way more and has Jinkao on the ropes. This is all the space they need, and they are well set up to just keep the entirety of Hong Kong Attitude caught up in their base here. Going to set themselves up on that as the payload makes the final little push, and they should finish with a little bit under a minute over HKA.
Yeah, the big difference there as well is AVRL managed to get his Dragon Blade out in a scenario where there were no Transcendences in play. Now, unfortunately for K4, Dragon Blade directly into Gumba's Transcendence, and then Mango Jai popped his Transcendence as well. I think his one was a more offensive Transcendence. You see the difference. Gumba uses his one as a reaction to a DPS ultimate, gets great mileage out of it. Mango Jai uses Transcendence as a proactive play to keep his members alive against no real threats being presented, and then doesn't have anything defensively when AVRL actually pulls out a Dragon Blade of his own, so that kind of cost him the game there. So for Hong Kong Attitude, good initial third checkpoint defense where they won with no ults against 4 ults, again in a fight they were not expected to win, a fight that they shouldn't have won, so Blank should have been able to cap out then and there. Unfortunately Blank, they had to go in for another fight, but Hong Kong Attitude, after winning a fight that they shouldn't have won, then lost a fight which they probably should have won, so kind of went backwards both times there.
So now looking ahead to the future, right? So we're now going to be hitting up time bank. Both of these teams actually have enough time to really take it all the way if they want, with the way that overtime often works out on these time banks. But I think the key thing here is, like I was saying earlier, Hong Kong Attitude, I feel, got it to the end because Blank never quite had initiative, but that was on Blank. They didn't quite play it well enough to give themselves the initiative. Blank did it because they took the initiative away from Hong Kong Attitude consistently. I feel like that says Blank is slightly favored coming into this time bank, ignoring even the fact that they have more time.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're slightly favored.
Yeah, Hong Kong Attitude have a lot
kind of
to
because
prove.
they just have more time as well. But,
yeah, Hong Kong Attitude, lot to prove on this offense. Going to see if they can actively rob Blank of
this
the
is
initiative.
much better. I much prefer seeing 8 up on the Soldier here. 8 on the Genji is probably fine, but playing a safer defensive composition rather than the counter dive, which again, for Blank, they never managed to get the counter dive off. This is much better for Blank.
Trying to go in really deep onto Trill,
could be in
looks like
trouble,
it's
though.
about to work, but he's got it killed back, which is the key thing. Eat you up also getting Jin Kao out of the mech and picking Mango. They've actually managed to do it even though Trill went down because it took them so long to do it. Eat up on this high ground was able to keep everyone contested. They didn't push Blank far enough back for Eat Up to not have sight lines, and that was just a solid defense out of Blank.
Well, Hong Kong Attitude can't afford to really realistically lose too many more fights if they want to be able to get a decent cap here, which they're going to need against a 347 time that Blank has available to them. I would say for Hong Kong Attitude, they need to be expecting at least a second checkpoint cap here if they really want to contest Blank, and they can't really afford to lose another fight on this first checkpoint, particularly their first attack here. They want it in one attack. If they're not able to get this first checkpoint down, they're going to be in a lot of trouble.
They do have two key things coming up though. Sheldon now with a pulse bomb, and K4 about to get an ultimate.
Pulse
Oh, but the pulse bomb goes wide. Too early, too aggressive. K4, he's now got no support as he goes with his dive, and he's not going to have much with him. There's a sound barrier up just in time to stop up K4.
Wow.
And with, that is a great grenade from Gunba to just completely hamstring the guy as AVRL, without even the ultimate, just absolutely wipes HKA there. They are going to have, again, a couple more ultimates coming up, but this time Blank have way more in the pocket.
You just see how much more effective this far more safe defensive composition is for Blank when they're not running a double dive Tracer Genji composition. What they're able to get done with Kiki, with Eat Up on the Soldier, I should probably say, is so much more effective than what they had before. They don't need to have the initiative here. They can play reactionary, and it's totally working out. Now that they've got 2 ultimates, 2 DPS ultimates up, 2 tank ultimates coming up as well, I don't see Blank losing this.
Yeah, big dive, but half the team, just because they went deep, get caught up in the Graviton as Eat You Up just decides to clean up one half, then the other as 18 goes down. That is just insane. Blank making great use of Hong Kong Attitude, splitting themselves up, and that was Hong Kong Attitude not at all respecting the Graviton.
Still an Earth Shatter and a Nano Boost to go for Blank as well, so they've still got a couple of tools left in the box. And for Hong Kong Attitude, they don't have much to work for. The Transcendence, I feel, is not really going to be enough, but Mango's going to have to use it. He doesn't have a choice.
Pretty do or die. Oh, Trill getting picked off.
No,
There's a key one for them. Kiki actually getting low. HKA are maybe finding something here, and they will have a Dragon Blade coming up in a second. They have more ultimates to commit. They've actually managed to crack them just by getting Trill, whose respawn is going to come maybe a little bit too late. Yeah, they should be able to get onto this. Even if Trill goes marching in, it would be an absolute crazy idea, and they are going to let the cap go up. But they only have to win one fight here.
Yeah, so, you know, for Blank, I feel like they can be a little bit patient here. Personally, I don't want to see Blank get too aggressive. I mean, they probably...
As you say it.
They probably couldn't get away with it because they're Blank and they're good, but if they want to be safe, if they want to play as a safe team, they should really realistically be taking these fights a little bit more conservatively and just wait for the guaranteed win rather than
Or
continually feed.
maybe you just rely on Trill and take advantage of the fact that they have no Reinhardt, go for a great Earth Shatter, and it looks like they're trying to do the groundwork, excuse the pun, for that. Trill, oh, he's looking for the angle, doesn't quite find it. Good patience there, but they are trying to force Hong Kong Attitude off this payload.
There's no counter, there's no other Ryan either, so he doesn't have to play against the shield.
They are just giving Hong Kong Attitude a lot of ult charge of their own.
They got a lot of ult to work with here, so now Blank in a position where they actually are very
that's the one. They were waiting for the Graviton. Now they just open it right on up. K4 is going to try and counter it out with a Dragon Blade, but he gets nothing through that sound barrier. Even Gunba staying alive on a sliver of health. Trill did commit the ultimate. They haven't actually got the follow-up kills, though, so Blank are going to start to lose position on this, with Atar as well not getting enough with his ultimate. And actually, 3 ultimates committed for very few kills. Edu is going to have to be the one to do the work, and they had just enough in the tank to drive it home. That did get way dicier than it should off for Blank.
Yeah, I think for Blank, to be fair, like while they had aggressive positioning, they didn't play that aggressively at all. They didn't dive on the cart. They didn't go out of their way to aggressively take the fight. They waited for the Graviton. They were very reserved. So they had the positioning, which is good because they prevented cart movement. They contested the cart. And you can see from Hong Kong Attitude as well, they didn't have the choice. They didn't have the choice to continually push that. They didn't have the choice to initiate the fight either. They knew they were behind in ultimates. They knew they couldn't afford to initiate any fight that they weren't going to be guaranteed to win. As they're on overtime, any fight that they engage, if they lose, that's it, the game's over for them. So they have to win, so they can only take safe fights. Now, what I'm trying to say for a defensive team in that situation is I feel the biggest mistake for defensive teams is when it gets time back, when it goes into overtime, you get real flustered and you just start throwing your bodies at the cart. And that's
because
a
you go, all I've got to do is win one.
Yeah, and then you start feeding ultimates and you give this massive snowball momentum to the other team and they just end up pushing you all the way. They get so much
why
mileage
we
out of it.
see that happen so often in overtime when teams sometimes can't even do it with the full,
usually the safer thing, as backwards as it sounds, is to play it way safer. It's better to let more initial cart distance go and then win one big fight rather than just try and throw bodies at the cart but then get fully capped out.
Yeah. By the way, safer doesn't mean you give them a whole heap of ground and wait until they basically charge up on their ultimates. Safer means you take a fight at the right time, and the right time is often not quite so early. But Blank, they did have enough in the tank to do it, and here they are again. Now on the offense, already, once again, looking way stronger than Hong Kong Attitude were. No kills just yet, but they have kind of forced the ground, and now K4 overextended. Onto Trill here, may be able to slip away by the skin of his teeth, but now CQB getting trained down as Blank again establishing themselves in this point, forcing back Hong Kong Attitude, trying to get these healers off the high ground. Frankly, playing it by the book.
Yeah, Hong Kong Attitude have lost all high ground advantage. They're actually running this counter dive competition
Keeping everyone alive with a sliver of health though, and they're going to be able to commit a nano boost. They might actually be able to hold out here just because Blank didn't quite close out the kills despite doing everything technically correct.
So far, Blank haven't really opened up this defense yet, so they're still trying to find a way to get in. But look at that cart distance. That's not a lot of distance at all. With 2 minutes 30 left to go, I feel like, again for Blank, they got a lot to work with. I feel like they got the time under their belt.
They're having a bit of a hard time to start it off, though. They're losing a couple of members here, but they're trading it back kind of nicely. Both Dragon Blades committed. Here's the turnaround, though, as Jin Kao forced out of the 18, going full monkey mode. If he gets killed, they're going to be in big trouble. He's about to get that ultimate available. He's going to save his life at the last second. But losing K4 to Trill is really bad news for them because he was busy going ape on the point as well. And this is going to be the entire team getting forced back, even just for a split second because of Kiki, but that could be all the ground they need. They're going to force out a sound barrier as well, and they're slowly starting to bleed HKA dry while they still have a Transcendence in a tank.
A lot of members on the HKA side sort of going down there. Particularly they're losing their tanks, which is a big deal because all these sort of really low HP DPS is going to have a lot of hard time trying to play catch up here. Atar does go down, which kind of gives them a little bit more room to work with, but the cap went
The caps happened, yeah. That's all that matters. The cap happened, and all Blank were doing there was getting kills for staggered respawns. There's not going to be any time for Hong Kong Attitude to muster their entire team and get them here and
Where's
get them
Hong Kong Attitude?
And get the They're not even there. They tried to blink to it at the last second. They spent a little bit too much time regrouping, and super smooth play out of Blank, knowing that they could force a couple of members into that long walk. They could force Hong Kong Attitude into a situation where either they wait for all 6 and risk not getting there in time, or they commit to a 4 versus 6. Hong Kong Attitude, they chose door number A, or number 1, and, well, the prize wasn't behind it, and it's hard to say whether it would have been behind door number 2. Good architecture from Blank.
Yeah, I mean, they really put themselves in sort of win-win position there. Like you said, you either force...
That's the term I was looking for. Ha, you.
You're forcing the other team into a position where they have to, you know, whatever choice they make is going to put them behind. So, yeah, for Blank, that was extremely well planned. They sort of got that real forward planning ahead. They're able to sort of force situations out from the other team, which is quite smart. I didn't really like the counter dive composition from Hong Kong Attitude. Now, Blank tried the exact same composition, which Hong Kong Attitude did extremely well against on the initial attack.
Exactly.
I don't see why Hong Kong Attitude then goes on to do that kind of defense style where, look, for Blank never got the initiative against that to start with. Hong Kong Attitude, they also didn't get the initiative to make that composition work. That's just not, so far, especially for Time Bank, I just feel like it's a super risky composition that doesn't have a lot of payoff, and you have very little room for error in Time Bank because you have such little area time and just cap to work with that making a risky composition, risky sort of strategy and basing everything, just sort of, you know, really putting everything in one basket like that kind of is, I don't know, it's just super risky play.
And like maybe they're trying to say, well, you struggled with it, we can do it better, but
I don't think they did it better.
Time Bank isn't the time to do it,
No.
and they couldn't even do it better. So
I'd say they did it worse.
Yeah,
No, well, debatably
may
worse.
have just been a bit of a misfire in terms of the tactical.
I've actually seen from Blank a lot is they play Mercy in Time Bank because the res is so it's worth a
the
lot.
tempo. It's because in Time Bank, funnily enough, time matters more. Tempo. I'm not just using this to like buzzword it together. This isn't going to be like a half-life reconfirm. This is a very real thing, right? When the time crunch is there, the value of a tempo res increases massively. The tighter the time gets as well, the more it increases. So when you've got 4 minutes, you've got time to charge up that ult. You've got time to charge it up like 2 or 3 times potentially. And then you get right into that last 10-second stretch. You having 3 members come back from the grave at that crucial moment, when normally that might not be good enough. In Time Bank, that is huge. That is absolutely massive because the other team equally doesn't have time to get back to the point, like exactly what we just saw Hong Kong Attitude struggle to do. So interesting that they didn't do that. I know I kind of went on a bit of a tangent there, but I suppose that speaks to the strength of Blank in that they have multiple options for when they're in these situations. Even in Time Bank, they're not one-dimensional. They are super, super flexible. Even if you can beat Blank doing one thing, can you beat them as a whole? Can you beat them doing all of the things their team can do? I don't think anyone can right now.
The other thing that I found quite interesting was that Ting played more Winston on Kings Row than he did Reinhardt. Now, Ting for me, again, this could just be a really bad day for him, but Ting for me has so far been one of the standout Reinhardt players. He didn't seem that way on Lijiang so far, and I guess he just felt more comfortable in Winston, but I feel for Hong Kong Attitude, if they played the Reinhardt composition, if a Ting was playing up to the standard he normally would be, that would be a much better composition for Hong Kong Attitude to be playing with, particularly going up against Blank, going up against Trill. I mean, if you're Trill with an Earth Shatter and there's no Reinhardt in the enemy team, that's just the easiest Earth Shatter of your life. So, for Hong Kong Attitude, putting the Ting on the Reinhardt probably is the way you want to go. But if a Ting's not performing on Reinhardt today and you have to play Winston, this is almost a Fireball scenario where you're forced into playing Winston compositions. And Winston composition doesn't always work. It may not always be the best composition for the current situation, but if you're forced into playing it, then you will always have to play a composition that just may not be the best composition for the current situation. And that's a weakness. That's a really big weakness that needs to be addressed. Yeah,
it's an abusable weakness, and it's interesting you mentioned
predictable
Fireball.
too.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned Fireball because maybe one of the things we've also unintentionally had revealed by this is Blank are a team that can counter out Fireball if that's Fireball's only strategy as well. So this says a lot about a lot of things, but I kind of want to jump back on something else you said, you know, in that we highlight Ting as being one of the strong Reinhardts in this tournament. To be completely fair, we also highlight Trill as being one of the strong Reinhardts in this tournament. And I think it would be fair to say that he is the stronger of the two. on any given
Definitely
day.
right now.
Yeah. And
I mean,
especially,
especially
after that, but
any given
previously,
day, but especially after this
exactly,
performance.
Any given day, but especially today.
Like Trill's not playing amazing. Trill's not playing like beyond what you expect from Trill. He's just playing Trill, whereas a Ting is playing I would say significantly worse.
He's just playing real. He hasn't got the whole thing down just yet. But I mean, that is exactly what it is. Excuse the weird. It is what it is. Like, call a spade, mate. That is the worst saying ever. It is what it is. Like, well, that's always true. Thanks for the help, Grandpa. But
I can't relate to that, so I'll just say it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. There you go. But that's what's happening there, right? It's just a Ting. First of all, he is not the stronger of the two Reinhardt. Second of all, underperforming. So in that situation, you go, well, if he was on form, maybe he'd be holding his own enough for us to get through this one. But he's not. Let's just try and center ourselves on something else rather than taking a really crippling loss by putting us on something that just isn't working tonight.
We also didn't
But
see...
if they are in situations, right, where sometimes players just can't quite pull off the things they should be able to play, regardless as to whether or not it's Trill, regardless as to whether it's not a Reinhardt who is better than you most days of the week, even if it's Reinhardt who's worse than you most days of the week, if you turn up and play on the day where you are the worst Reinhardt, it doesn't matter how regular your other performances are, you're still going to be forced into that position where you're maybe on the Winston when you shouldn't be, and you're still going to be just as easily counterable as what we saw there with Blank. So maybe this is just an indelible weakness of Hong Kong attitude. Maybe this is the first we're seeing of a major consistency issue.
And the other thing is, I feel like Hong Kong attitude rely way too much on K4's ability to get the frags. And if K4 can't secure the kills, Hong Kong attitude start to really clutch at straws. They sort of are unable to find ways to find... They can't identify their win conditions.
Yeah.
If K4 can't find those kills, so that's been another weakness as well.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. Well, in any case, if we say Hong Kong attitude success tonight is taking one map off Blank, well, the next map could be the place to do it because it will be Assault, and it is, unfortunately for them, going to be Blank's pick, but at any rate, this has been the weakness so far, but we will see whether that is still a weakness after this short break, so don't go anywhere. Oh, but what happens to Bastion? Welcome back to the official English
the end of that
podcast of the
story,
Overwatch Pacific Championship. Maybe we'll get to see
Does he finish crossing the bridge or not?
I don't know. I don't know. Does he ever find true love? If only Scarecrow had a brain. So I feel like he's off to see the wizard, the wonderful wizard of Eichenwalde. So let's. What have we done? What have we done? We're off to a terrible start here. Next map, let's just get into it. Let's just forget this all happened. Next map, Assault, Blank Spec. We're not going to Germany, we're going to Japan. It's going to be Hanamura. Thank you there. There we go.
I thought Blank were going to pick Volskaya, in all honesty.
Absolutely agree
I
with you.
so thought they were going to pick Volskaya.
Or Temple of Anubis, because sometimes they pulled it out. They pulled it against OCE teams to try and, I feel, backfoot them because they feel they can just raw outskill them. But Temple of Anubis isn't necessarily a comfortable map for anyone. So Hanamura, interesting pick.
Everyone's most hated map, Temple of Anubis.
Yeah. that's why they do it. They're just trying to tilt the enemy team.
AHQ's like,
and they're just sitting there
this is
like,
this is how we can annoy Blank.
Yeah. Let's just annoy them. Annoy them to victory. That's our plan.
And it worked.
Yeah, it worked. That's the thing. I mean, all credit to them. But yeah, Hanamura as well is the map they lost to Flash Wolves. So, interesting pick. I feel like maybe this is just confidence that they are better than HKA, and feel that, and I feel like this is them just sort of going, yeah, we feel like we can beat HKA here, even though we lost to Flash Wolves. Or it could be that they go, look, we fixed those mistakes, and we'll even beat Flash Wolves on Hanamura.
I'm not super impressed by the way Blank play the second.
Frankly, both teams disappoint you.
Frankly, both checkpoint defenses did not. But tell us about where you get your shoes from Mexico.
No. Okay, first of all, it's New Mexico.
So Blank, I'm not impressed with their second checkpoint defense or attack. I'm just their second checkpoint in general attack or defense. Not super impressed with. Now their first checkpoint is great. Like defense and attack is extremely coordinated, extremely well planned, and just in general well executed. So I think that's Blank's biggest strength in Hanamura is the way they defend, especially with the way they play chokes. They're a team that is so effective at playing chokes, and a team that is so just know how to execute a defense of a choke so well, and just entirely stonewall a team from getting through there whatsoever. And also attacking, it just seems like they know how to counterplay that as well. They know how to get around it. They know how to attack Hanamura first checkpoint. So that's going to be Blank's biggest strength. But where Blank really lost against Flash Wolves was on that second checkpoint, and that's kind of been their shortcoming.
Exactly. And I actually got these shoes from my father, who I believe bought them from a place called Hannah's, which is quite similar to Hanamura, so Half-Life 3 confirmed.
Yeah.
But you raise a good point actually about where the weakness came through with their match against Flash Wolves, and it wasn't their second point. They just couldn't crack it. It's been a very long time since I've seen Blank not able to crack a defense. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen to them. The only time you really see them lose is they crack the defense, but they do it slower than the other team did to them. And that's really it. So Flash Wolves fully holding a point against Blank is pretty phenomenal. And if I'm not mistaken, AHQ did it too when they met on Temple of Anubis on their second point.
I can't actually remember. I thought, to memory, that happened in Time Bay. I could be wrong.
I think you may well be right. Well, maybe someone knows, maybe someone doesn't. We'll
I feel like I should know because I literally casted it, but
I know. Well, I literally watched it, but well, let's make a bet, and whoever's wrong has to speak another foreign language on stream that we haven't had yet.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so there we go. Which is
how about this? I'll do Spanish and you can do Chinese Mandarin.
Oh, no way. It's weird for me because I only know Spanish. I know like a smattering of German. I know a bit of Dutch actually, but it's mostly just the swear words because my grandmother was Dutch. So, Hanamura. That was just a great anecdote from my life. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of the gist of where Blank do normally fail is when they just crack it slower than the other team. But getting full held, completely very different story. But I'm going to come out and say it. I do not think Hong Kong Attitude are a team that can hold any point against Blank.
I think every team struggles to attack the second checkpoint, but I will say that getting full held doesn't happen. It shouldn't happen very often. Not at this level of play anyway.
Certainly not. Well, let's see how this opening skirmish goes. Good move with the simple geometry out of Jin Kao, but he's maybe a little bit too deep. We've seen this one before where Trill just kind of out-aimed him, and they've already lost their Winston. So,
that's the
yeah, opening skirmish,
right
very pear-shaped. They do actually manage to get the trade-off on Trill, and it's kind of going to send RQT running. Jin Kao, he's still trying to crack this one, and Hong Kong Attitude, they're now very set up on this because Shaolin was also able to dive through. No one's closed out kills on Hong Kong Attitude, but Blank haven't exactly had kills closed down on them either. There we go, starting to get the trades in, still even.
Shaolin's doing a lot of work here, actually. He's able to take down a lot of Blank members, just really keeping on Attitude.
There he goes, one-man army, haha.
Yeah, who needs K4 to get all the kills? This guy's doing work.
Yeah, this is it's only 1/7 of the White Stripes' greatest fear. But it's working, and that's what counts. Blank with the respawns, I don't think really want to commit to this. Actually, they're going to send Trill in, again with the Mercy on Pocket, to maybe try and do something here, but they're a little bit overextended now because the point got kept anyway. This could be the opportunity for a snowball.
Super fast attack from Hong Kong Attitude. Again, I feel like at the start of these, like, the no ultimate fights have been where Hong Kong Attitude have had a big leg up against Blank. We've seen it in Kings Row. We're now seeing it on Hanamura as well. And you're right, if Hong Kong Attitude could get a bit of a snowball going here, I expect them to be able to get this cap out.
They haven't quite got themselves set up on this high ground the way they
want.
He misses. Oh, no!
Goodbye, K4.
Ooh, unfortunately, no long jump gold medal for him today. So that's honestly just
hopefully he can get the DPS gold, the damage gold medal.
Yeah, that's going to stop up Hong Kong Attitude completely. They're already pretty much.
A team goes over the wall as well.
That is donezo.
Everybody is just falling off the map.
Well, this is actually Blank routing them. Let's be clear about that. But at any rate, I mean, they'd already lost the opportunity to snowball because Blank defended that well. It's just a little unfortunate that they had the death there as well because that's just going to run down the clock. But they've still got plenty of time here, Hong Kong Attitude. They are going to have to run down some of Blank's ultimates first before they get an opportunity to really go for a committed attack.
I do feel that Hong Kong Attitude didn't have the ultimates available going into that second attack anyway, so their ability to really snowball that was quite limited because to snowball it effectively on Assault requires you to be at somewhat of an ultimate advantage on the attacking side.
Well, there's one ultimate out of the picture already, Blank. I don't disagree with them committing the Pulse Bomb to pick up the kill, but
it does buy them a decent amount of time.
It buys them time, but they lose an ultimate, and K4 is going to come back with one. So this is what Hong Kong Attitude actually want. They want Blank to commit ultimates while charging up their own and try and create an ultimate advantage.
Well, good news for Blank is they're still actually charging the other ultimates on their team, so it does buy time for both teams to charge ultimates. Here comes K4, the take visor.
Oh, wow, yeah, coming around the side, tag visor down. The point is quite wide open. No kills just yet. Still looking to close closed off, but
Wow,
gets
big
counter-dived
contest.
by ATAR and as well the Winston, whoever that was. Trill, that's the one. There we go. Blank need to actually commit back onto this point. Shaolin is starting to do a lot of work on this Roadhog.
They're getting kills.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of kills. I mean, just getting the one on the tac visor in K4 wasn't enough because they weren't on the point, and now they're going to have to commit onto this one where Hong Kong Attitude are the ones kind of sat on it already, committing a nano boost as well. That is a great Earth Shatter to keep this one secure. They're going to try and keep Blank kettled in the base. The self-destruct out, and hey Macarena, they've got RQT as well. The counter one is going to get blocked out by Ating, and unless they target something crazy here, which isn't going to happen, Hong Kong Attitude, if nothing else, are going to get huge time on the point. This is where the defender's advantage may turn it around for Blank though.
Yeah, 61.2%. They've got a decent amount of cap on there, but ATAR really turned that one around for Blank. ATAR got like 3 kills, which is easily enough for the defenders to get themselves back into the fight. So for Hong Kong Attitude, if they managed to take down ATAR a little bit early, they killed everyone else. They just had to get past ATAR. That would have been a full cap. 61.2% though, I think you'd still be happy to take that.
How often do we see that though, where a team actually kind of has a bit of an upper hand for a moment on that point there, and then the respawn advantage just slowly wears them down because they don't close out kills? I mean, even Blank struggled with that themselves. This is exactly what we expect out of point B. This is why it's hard to take. I mean, anyone who's played the game knows that, and now they're in a worse position than before. Again, they're going to have to run down some ultimates first.
I don't know what this whole hog is.
Yeah, this is a very, very poor whole hog, and losing Mango Jai as well
That's
means
like
that they're actually
hog.
even further behind than they were 20 seconds ago.
And they got ultimates.
That was like
against,
a 1/4 hog.
Yeah, it's pretty much. They got to work against 2 ultimates on the other side as well. So they're in a position where they're gonna have to wait a little bit. They have to get K4 and CQV's ults up to just be on par, and then they may go for a push after this. In fact, I feel like they should be able to go for a push. If they want to be really safe, they might have to charge a ting up as well. But they do have to consider their time here. Getting mileage out of K4 should be their priority.
Unless he gets taken down, he is going to be able to keep himself safe with that defense matrix running. But, I mean, Blank know this. They know that they have to pick him out, but they do actually get Trill out of the picture. So the counter dive can't really come in. Yeah, they're going to open up with the visor and a sound barrier as well to stop the counter dive. That's what stopped them last time. And ATAR knocked down onto the ground. They need to secure a lot of kills, though, and they haven't quite done it just yet. They need at least 2 more, or they can't really get onto this. Kiki out of the mech would be a place to start. They have managed to kind of get that, but ATAR coming in with the respawn, and EU Up will follow him soon. They're not getting enough. Yeah, they're not quite getting enough kills in the right kind of timing. That's a big pick though, and now they're in position to stop the respawns coming back onto the point as K4 just set up on this high ground, very uncontested, very undivable, and if they can keep this going, they are in a position to cap this one.
You can't even dive him, because if you dive him, you're not contesting the point. If you're not contesting the point, you're going to get capped out. So it's such a difficult position to put.
And they don't have ultimates. They don't have any big team wiping ultimates. The closest they'll get is a self-destruct, but Kiki's committed to this high ground. He is going to force K4 off. This could be their gambit. They might try and get back onto the point. Oh my goodness, they've just kind of psyched HKA out. They had the position. They even had the ultimates. And Kiki just fully rope-a-doped them.
The crazy thing is Hong Kong Attitude didn't get any additional cap. They're still on 61.2%. They got nothing. Like, realistically, they got no extra mileage out of that whatsoever. They're not giving it up just yet, though, because K4's almost, in fact, he is on
tell
take
you what they did
again.
get. They got the adrenaline pumping. They actually have ultimate advantage. They are not going to fall prey to the same mistake this time around. But Shaolin needs to stay alive, forcing Kiki off that high ground. Yeah, good start. Oh no, 18 too deep there. He's down and out for the count. That's going to stop this one up. With a little over a minute on the clock, HKA have to not let anyone else die as they go for this retreat, but they can come back with a big ultimate advantage.
Ooh, okay, that'll work.
That's big.
They got 6 ultimates. There's no other time to go except now. They have to get it
now
done
they've only got
right now.
4, and they haven't got any kills aside from that pick they got before and eat you up. And now Kiki is going to stop K4 from getting anything more as the self-destruct there stops him from having any retreat path at all. They're trying to get on the point now, but they're split up. Eat you up is just wreaking havoc. They have to commit a sound barrier just to keep themselves alive while they're in chaos so that they can maybe regroup. And ATAR is going to thrive on that chaos, get a key pick on the healer, so that is out of the picture for them now. 18 ultimate already used up, out of health, sat on the point like a sitting Reinhardty duck, and with only Jinkao really left here, they are going to lose this attack as well, with still no progress made, and now almost no time left.
Yeah, well, 2 ultimates committed. K4 and Mango Jai got nothing out of that. No kills. A team died with an Earth Shatter as well. 6 ultimates used for Hong Kong Attitude, and no cap. 14 seconds left to go. 61.9%. That is
what can
not
they even
enough.
use? What can they even use to win this one out? They're going to have an
Nothing.
Earth...
They got nothing
Sorry,
left.
that's not even... This is
Jinkao's
self-destruct.
dead.
That's it.
Jin Kao's gone. He's so
Oh
far
no,
away.
that wasn't even that. That was the mech recharge because he was dead. And 18 already has the biotic grenade on him. He's already out. There is no front line for them. Jin Kao is only just arriving to this fight. And there's a self-destruct from Kiki that's going to force them off for the crucial seconds they need to pick off the rest. Hong Kong Attitudes, 2 split, 2 scattered. And even when they had all of the cards, they couldn't play the hand right.
If you have 6 ultimates going into a team that doesn't have 6 ultimates and you still can't win, you're not going to win in any other position. I mean, that's it. Your team is at peak levels of...
You're operating at peak performance levels.
Pretty much. I mean, that's as good as you get. Your team doesn't get stronger than 6 ultimates. So if you have that and you're not winning, there is no other situation
you didn't work
do
it
win.
harder, make it better, do it faster.
All of the above. D, all of the above.
4th liquid. So, all right. That's blank on the defense. That's Hong Kong Attitude, like we said, failing where I'm going to be honest, they should have succeeded.
There was a fight they could have won that.
There were 2 times they should have won. The first was way at the... Actually, no, I'm going to like... There's 3 points. First was they had the opportunity to snowball. That time, it was blank's good defense. The second was the first good fight they got on the point. They had the good position. They didn't close out the right kills. And that was when they had K4 up on the high ground. Kiki, like I said, just kind of mind game them out. It's like Kiki dove the one soldier. He could just retreat. And the rest of them were like, oh, God, let's get out of here. Let's run. Let's run. Oh, the cops are coming. I don't know what was going through their heads, right? But they panicked. They panicked and they fled. And they gave up everything they just worked on. And then the last one was right at the end with 6 ultimates. And that was just out and out, not getting enough kills once again. Blank, they are a team that are not going to make those same mistakes.
You wouldn't expect them to anyway. At the same time, though, Hanamura is one of the few maps that blank have lost. Not saying that Hong Kong, not saying that Hong Kong Attitude are going to be the team to beat them on Hanamura. It's not impossible.
Stranger
either.
things have happened.
Yeah, it's not impossible, but I wouldn't put my money on that either. I just think right now for blank, I can sort of see why they pick Hanamura. This is definitely a map they are confident. This is, again, a map that they know how to play quite well. The one thing I'm quite surprised about is how quickly they lost their first checkpoint. Now, I said blank were a team that plays the first checkpoint quite well, but in the no ultimate situations, in the very beginning stage of the game when neither team has ultimates, I feel like that's when Hong Kong Attitude has had a leg up.
Hold up, big talking point, eat you up on the Widowmaker. This is something we started to see a lot of during the summer series, using this to get picks to open the door. Let's see if it works.
Gonna have to play around this quite a bit as well. They're gonna have to give him a decent amount of space. Look at Hong Kong Attitude just backing up. Hong Kong Attitude really just give so much space to blank. I mean, we said this already.
This is like a throwback to 2010 memes because they're backing up.
Why did Hong Kong Attitude just give up all that space? They had all the tanks. They're running 3 tanks. If you're running 3 tanks, you are holding that front door. Do not give up that front door with 3 tanks.
It's like what Kiki just did to them in the last round. It's like they're just so spooked by this Widowmaker, or I don't even know.
Oh, yeah, it's a Widowmaker. Everyone run.
Oh God, she makes widows. It's terrifying. But she's... the only widow she made was herself. She killed her own husband. But at any rate, he's looking to kill a lot more husbands as Reinhardt is down and out for the count. They do get a trade back onto Atar, but Idiop is still uncontested. Now with that visor running, he confirms his suspicions that Mango Jai is off to the side. Gets the headshot too. And Blank, having already been set up on the point to take advantage of this, take advantage of that pick straight away. They're looking to absolutely dismantle Hong Kong Attitude here, get themselves a cap, and quite probably get a snowball.
You know how you counter Widow on attack on this map? You don't give up that front door because Widow has no good sight lines, no good angles to work with.
You have to get aerials.
Until you can actually secure that front door. Once you secure the front door and you take the fight to the actual point itself, that's when Widow sits at the door on the high ground or wherever she wants to, and then gets free pickings of whatever.
She gets to sit in her workshop and make widows all night long.
But if Hong Kong Attitude had kept the front door, kept the choke, especially you're running 3 tanks, which if you're running 3 tanks, you are definitely playing the choke. And Hong Kong Attitude just giving that one up, big mistake. I don't know what is going on with that.
Yeah, well, here we go again. Now Trill is going to be opening up. We didn't even talk about the fact that Trill is on this Genji, but you barely even have time to watch it because they're starting to, again, make good work here. Getting another kill onto CQB. They've lost a few too many members this time around, though, and actually Eat You Up did have to go into full retreat, so they don't really have anything to keep this one going. Didn't really draw any ultimates out of Hong Kong Attitude either, but that's Blank's attempt at a snowball. It didn't quite work out, but they've got plenty of time on the clock to run this one down.
Yeah, A10's going to go in Sombra now. They're still keeping the Widow, so they're just going to... I almost feel like Eat Up should go on the Soldier. There it is. He does actually go on the Soldier. So this is much better.
Smart
so
call.
this is now we're going to see if Blank are going to be able to fulfill what Hong Kong Attitude we're trying to do. Get Eat Up onto the high ground. Get him into a position where he can't really be well contested. And that should be all Blank need to win this one.
Should. That's
We'll see if it's going to be the Widow Workshop tonight with the keynote speaker Widowmaker.
There's no more Widowmaker, so your ex isn't going to be at the door. She's not going to knock knock. You don't have to open it up. It's not real. Well, let's actually take a look at the game that's happening. But
What's happening in the game?
Yeah, what happened? I was watching.
First round's over already.
Well, look, K4 is now going to try and save the day. It's actually working. He's got 3. My goodness, out of, I don't want to say nowhere because he did have the nano boost on him as well. But the trade back there, I don't think it's quite going to be enough, actually. It looks like Blank are going to, again, have to back up. But that was with pretty much no ultimates committed out for Blank there, aside from Trill with the self-destruct. He's already halfway back to it. They're going to come in with an advantage this time.
Haven't seen Trill on D.Va before, so that's kind of new to me. Be interested to see how Trill actually performs on D.Va. Again, I think this might be the first time in the whole tournament Trill's been on D.Va. Usually, in this situation, I would actually swap Trill and Kiki, but they're really committed to the heroes, so I guess they just have to roll with it.
Once again, without even really committing the big ultimates, they're just getting picks, but Hong Kong Attitude are getting the counter picks, so that's keeping them afloat for now. It's only a matter of time until Blank just kind of go past them. AVRL, actually, he's going to go ahead and commit to this one. They feel like they can do it, but he's struggling to even get past this D.Va. And now another tank charging out the gate. There's 3 tanks here.
Get charged by that?
There's 3 tanks here with a sound barrier on them. What is he going to get with that? With 2 of his members dead when he opened it out. Blank, they're just committing a lot of ultimates now to a lost cause. This is very uncharacteristic.
At the same time, this is kind of how they lost to Flash Wolves, so I mean, it's kind of like repeating history a little bit here. They're going to need to change something up if they want to be able to actually take out the second checkpoint. They have struggled to take second checkpoint on Hanamura before, and they do look like they're struggling again, but they need to now wait for another attack. Visor, they got nothing to realistically combo Nano Boost with. I mean, you can just chuck it on Kiki and hope for the best, but I almost feel like for Blank, because they don't have any DPS ultimates, having the tank ultimates really isn't good enough here. They have to have at least one of the DPS ultimates to have any chance of securing an actual cap here.
Well, they're going to maybe try and commit, but already losing Kiki. I mean, they get the trade back on the enemy Winston, but you need a big numbers advantage to win this kind of fight.
Charged out. How does
dear.
it keep consistently being charged out?
Oh man,
that's incredible.
Wrong place, wrong time. It's like this Reinhardt is a bouncer and AVRL is underage. He's so consistent at it. Like
get out of my,
and like it doesn't matter. He can swap sweaters or something.
Japanese shrine.
Yeah, get out of my sake bar. He can change jumpers with a mate and try and go back in, but he's like, oh, I remember your face, back out again. So it's just not working here. They're committing a lot to this fight though, Blank. They're really keeping this one alive.
DPS ults are coming online.
They're kind of getting some respawns of their own in, and now they should be able to secure this out, but they're going to have to commit this Dragon Blade. They do sort of start getting kills, mainly because they're committing the attack visor as well. It's a big Earth Shatter to stop them up, and they haven't really got much more despite Eat You Up being on this high ground. There's a lot of good healing coming out, and they just can't...
As long as he stays there, he's uncontested.
He is uncontested, but much like HKA on the offense, they aren't closing out the kills even when they have the positioning, and that's not good enough.
I mean, 2 minutes left to go, only 15.7. By this point, HKA already got 61.2% capped. So for HKA, so far they've done quite a lot better. Under the new Assault rules, Hong Kong Attitude, I believe, will win this.
It's looking like it, as absurd as that sounds. Like, I mean, we just said these are mistakes that Blank wouldn't make, but here they are making them up and over the head. There we go.
This may be the last time Blank chooses Hanamura.
This is the last time. Oh, AVRL, he didn't get caught out this time. He sort of jumped out of the way at the last position, but he just kind of jumped further into jeopardy here. Kiki trying to keep all these healers routed, but how long until they turn their attention and just kind of cut him off because he is isolated from his team, and with the healers down and out, there's going to be no support coming through. The cavalry will not arrive, and they are now down, running short on time.
And Blank just walk away with this one with their tails between their legs again. I'm struggling to find ways for Blank to climb back into this because so far they've been in situations where, okay, they just need to wait for DPS ults, maybe they get back in. They got the DPS ults, still wasn't really enough. Now K4's into this real nerd spot where Zonda was in before. And
Real nerd spot?
it's a real sweaty place
This
to
is
be.
he's
in
got
the sauna.
The Mountain Dew to his left, the Doritos to his right. He's ready to go. He's got a D&D source book in front of him. The nerd spot. He is fully.
He is
fully
100% in
nerdy
the nerd spot right
Yeah.
now. Why did you leave? What? Why would you jump off there?
Well,
Are you kidding me, K4?
Not the flank are taking advantage of it though. EU up is committed.
He
Attack
tugged down
visor.
again. This time he didn't even get charged.
And K4, he's going to make it all the way back to the base. They did manage to run down his tactical visor, but once again, they are not securing the kills. And
No,
Blank having
Blank
committed
are gone.
ultimates, having gone in with a numbers disadvantage. It's like they've
Blank
forgotten
are
that if
not
someone
gonna
gets
catch.
picked, you just back off and wait. And now they are out of time. They don't even have anywhere near the percentage of Hong Kong attitude. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't believe my eyes. Blank are going to again
Believe
drop
it.
Assault.
It's you on some level you want to be surprised. On another level you're not surprised at all because it is history repeating
because
itself.
of how they played as well. Like, I just saw it, and I saw how poorly they handled this, and in that regard, I'm not surprised. But this is not a team we identified as having this particular weakness, yet here it is in front of us, and what are they going to do about it?
Oh, he's not even self-destruct will save in this one. No
Well,
one.
that is what's happening to Blank. They're kind of self-destructing on Assault. It's like it's like all the things that they know how to do in Overwatch, they've forgotten. And here they are now, sat again, looking at their screens going, guys, this team is not as good as Flash Wolves. They are not as good as HQ. Why are we still losing on Assault? What is going wrong? They have to play Assault every single series they play. It is unavoidable.
I'll tell you
And
what.
if this is just an indelible weakness of theirs that every team can take advantage of, that all the teams need to do is figure them out on payload as well, and Blank have done for.
I'll tell you what. You know, I said earlier tonight, Hong Kong attitude. If they win one map, it's a pretty big deal for them, and they've done that now. They've got their one map. Now, if they can get their look how happy they are. I mean, Mango is just ecstatic about that one, and well deserved too. I mean, I'm kind of ecstatic for
Look
them,
at that
but
Mango.
I'm really disappointed at Blank as well because it's just it is. I feel like they underperformed. It's their own fault they lost that because Hong Kong attitude. Look, they made mistakes of their own, but they got 61.2% on their first cap. On their second attack or something like that. They got it quite early. Yeah, they only ended up getting 61.9 at the end of the day, but what did Blank get? 15.7?
Yeah,
That's pitiful. Pitiful.
Pretty much
P-I-T...
nothing.
No.
Like one quarter. There we go. Like we said, it was the quarter hog.
It was the quarter hog.
It was 1/4 of the total percentage, and it was all because of that whiffed whole hog. There we go. Half-Life reconfirmed again. So
why did K4 give up his spot? I
feel like we could look at every single fight there and go.
Why did he give up that top position?
But in
Why
every
did he do
fight,
that?
why did Blank continue to commit after losing a member? They were always the first.
And how did ATAR get charged every time? How?
Illuminati confirmed. It's like Hong Kong attitude, Freemason.
It's like the team just presses shift and ATAR's like, yeah, take me.
What? Okay.
I volunteer.
I volunteer as charge tribute. Anyway, I do want to disseminate this a little bit because Blank in that second offense, they were never the first to strike a blow. Maybe someone's going to go through and pull through the vault and go, oh wait, there was this one fight where they got the first kill, but it doesn't matter because they didn't win the fights. They didn't get the extra kills. The trade backs happened. They lost members. They committed when every other time I've seen them play, they would have smartly backed off. I don't know what went wrong for them.
They backed off. They just backed off
poorly.
after committing. They backed off after committing. That's
Exactly.
the difference.
Which is no better. And maybe it's even worse because when you're backing off, like at least when you're committing, you might be killing them before they get to charge up more of their ults. When you're retreating, they're shitting you in the bum the whole way out and they're charging up their ultimates. That is why teams don't half and half it. That's why teams don't start to retreat after they've already kind of committed, right? In for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah, if you've committed,
really
you've
very
committed.
very little in between in Overwatch, right? Over between in Overwatch.
I gotta say, both teams kind of let it go in the first checkpoint. I don't for Blank. I don't understand. They should have defended that a lot better.
Both teams just watched Frozen in the practice room. Yeah, it took you a moment. There we go. That song is really funny if you imagine that it's about
Why you
farting.
go up against a Widowmaker lineup? you're 3 tanks, so technically that's good against Widowmaker because that's a lot of health for Widowmaker to go through.
But they gave up the ground. That they
And you have choke, you have major choke advantage. Like it is very, anyone who's played Hanamura, like on any competitive level, and you've ever gone up against 3 tanks on defense on that first choke, you know how impossible it is to get past 3 tanks.
And because you're in silver, you've got a Widowmaker on your team on a fence, and you're flaming them because they haven't swapped off, right? But for Blank, they're Grandmasters, so it works.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Is again, Widowmaker has no
That
good.
was like the worst analysis.
I'm not even gonna validate that. But Widowmaker has no good sight lines on the first checkpoint until you can actually break through that initial hole and get the fight started on the actual cap itself. Then Widowmaker can sit on the choke and then take all the free shots. But until you break through the choke, Widowmaker is so useless. You have to be able to do those like jump shots. So yeah, they're really tricky, but super inconsistent. You got to wait for cooldowns of the grapple, and like it's actually quite punishable as well. So
and once people have figured out you're on Widowmaker, they're going to do exactly what Mango Jai was doing there and just sit and cover forever.
And the Widowmaker really sucks at breaking the actual choke itself. So
and also, by the way, Mango Jai getting headshot by the Widowmaker was him making a stupid mistake in stepping out of the cover that had kept him safe the entire game up to that point. So a lot of mistakes were made by Hong Kong Attitude on that defense.
So the thing is,
then Blank made more mistakes on the second one, and that's what ended up counting. Like, I don't think I've seen Blank play a game in so long.
Do you know what it is? I think
it
was
down
just
to the mistakes of both teams.
I think both
rather than
teams
Blank just being better.
just made a ridiculous amount of mistakes.
Both teams disappoint me.
They kind of did because they both made just the most ridiculous series of mistakes, like throughout their map. I mean, I just don't
We're going to be here for a long time while we just disseminate what went wrong.
I don't think. I'm just kind of not. It doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't sit well with me at all that both teams did what they did on that map.
I feel like what's gone wrong is we've slipped back into the parallel universe where you cast with me instead of Easy, and this is the universe where Blank choke on Assault. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead.
They choked on Assault, no, even the last time. They choked on Assault regardless.
This was a much worse choke because it was against a team that wasn't Flash Wolves.
Last time, they chose a Reaper to try and counter a Maywall, but still did give them no options to counter Zondra. Like, that's way worse. That is way worse. They're trying to justify picking a Reaper to counter a Maywall.
Let's go and complain. Let's go and complain about it on social media.
Okay, we will.
Yeah, so let's do that there. But here, right now, let's talk about our next map, which is going to be Watchpoint Gibraltar. This is Hong Kong Attitude's pick, and I feel like this is.
We haven't seen Gibraltar
This is an
yet.
inoffensive
This is our first Gibraltar of the whole tournament.
This is what I would call an inoffensive pick, right? It is neither here nor there. I can't say that this favors anyone in particular. I can't say there's any particular reason that anyone's picked it. It's just fairly safe, all things considered. But this is Blank. Blank are fantastic at Gibraltar.
I guess I would. You can say Blank is kind of fantastic.
You can guess, but I know. Like I've seen it with my own 2 eyes.
Yeah, me.
And then I went back and watched the VOD and saw it again.
I think the good thing for Gibraltar for Blank is it's kind of favors Water on the first checkpoint again, so that's something they can work with. Not only that, but it's quite a vertical map, so both teams are quite comfortable running the dive vertical composition with D.Va, Winston, Genjis, and the like. So both teams are quite comfortable with that kind of lineup as well, which is a very typical Gibraltar sort of composition. So yeah, I feel like that's kind of what we're going to end up seeing quite a bit of. Well, to no one's surprise, that's exactly what's going to triple tank against Hong Kong Attitude. What is this? This is a super aggressive. I've never seen this from Blank ever. Is this like the warm-up skirmish, or is this the real game? Are we live?
Yeah, I think we are. I think we are just skirmishing.
We're skirmishing
like
mode?
both teams just out of the gate. They're like, oh,
what is Blank doing?
And then suddenly they're gonna go, oh, wow, God, the payload, it's been moving. And yeah, it has been moving. Blank
are gonna get snowballed off this. They're gonna get heavily snowballed
off this. It's like they're trying to go anti-dive by just running dive, but they dove too deep. Full Mariana's Trench there.
You know what? If Hong Kong Attitude was smart now, and this is their mistake because they're not getting aggressive enough yet. They just got a bunch of kills. They forced Blank into a bad position. They should now be forcing Blank out of every possible defensive hold at all. One person on the cart and get super aggressive with the rest of the team. They're killing it up. This is good now from Hong Kong Attitude. they're getting really aggressive. They need to do this a little bit quicker, but they're getting it done anyway. This should
Look
be
at
a
this
full
high
cap.
ground. Yeah, Blank shouldn't even be able. Like, first of all, they can't even retreat to a
K4
safe
needs to stay
position
here.
now. Yeah, he absolutely should. Like,
Do not give up the nerd spot.
Yeah, exactly, the spot. You, like, eat your Mountain Dew, eat your Doritos, drink your Mountain Dew, right? Stay healthy.
What's going
You're
on
gonna
with
be
the
fine.
tank? He's getting
I don't
caught
know,
out
yeah,
of
just hopping. But yeah, here goes the dive from Kiki. Gonna
was
fall
over.
short. The tech buys are out. So like I said, the retreat path cut off and the path for reinforcements cut off as well. This is all just payload distance. Kiki, yeah, going down. Good discipline out of K4. Just held his ground there.
my.
ATAR not going to be able to retreat, and that is a cap.
This
and Blank are crumbling.
Is the most undisciplined Blank I've ever seen. Like, why would you go for that super early aggressive defense right at the attacker spawn?
Yeah.
You are not going to win that to start with. Like, you're heavily disfavored to win that. And, like, by losing that, you lose the entire first checkpoint hold, as we saw.
All right, well, let's take some positivity where we can. Trill is starting to turn it back around, and they did have the ultimate advantage at the top of this fight here, so an expected win, but they've managed to get a couple of picks while keeping ultimate advantage. So, look, they made some really, really bad mistakes, and we can lambast them to the ends of the earth over them, but they have now done what they should do, given that they made those early mistakes, and they should still be able to find their defense here. And I guarantee they can get a full hold if they find their feet.
Yeah, well, the good news for them is they got a decent amount of ult charge in the previous fights leading up to this, so they're in a position where they have the ults to sort of keep this one going for a while, but they also do have to keep this upper shuttle high ground to sort of keep things going alive, particularly for ATAR with the tag visor. He has to get a decent amount of mileage up as well.
Oh, that's how you get that mileage, stopping the healer from following up with the rest of the team. Means that those divers are now a little bit too deep, and 18, where have we seen this before? That is not a safe place for him to be, and just amazing work by ATAR to completely hamstring them, cut off the support, and then they close out all the kills. No alarms and no surprises. Blank didn't even use an ultimate.
I kind of feel like ATAR got a bit greedy there with kills. They need to give the ult charge to Trill there. So I would have preferred Trill to get that last kill, but it's just kind of small details. They're so hidden ultis.
I would have preferred them to win this way.
Yeah, you kind of want to win harder if you can win.
Jeez,
But no,
you're just not winning enough.
But you know what I'm saying though. Like they are actually decent amount ahead in ultimates. Eat-Up does use a pulse bomb that gets nothing.
That's yeah, that is really a big commitment though out of HKA, and they've found nothing with that tac visor combo. And now ATAR opening up with his own, and he's not going to find anything as well. He's to go to full retreat, and he's going to lose his life for it. Blank, they're not fully crumbling here just yet, but they're not exactly finding their feet either. They do need to get a couple of key picks, and they're really struggling to contest Jin now without ATAR. They're going to have to open it up with
6 ultimates.
Really going for it with Trill. That's going to work though. Somehow he manages to jump high enough to swing the blade and take out both the Pharah and the Mercy. Mercy first. That's a smart call there. Good order of operations, and Trill makes the hold happen.
Okay, well, Blank hold, but wow, they used 6 ultimates. That was super costly.
Yeah, they've given up all of their advantage. All they've really done is run down the clock.
I mean, Eat-Up's pulse bomb got nothing. The rest of them kind of were here or there. Trill's ultimate was what really secured them that defense. So for the other 5 ultimates, I felt like they didn't get pretty much anything out of that. So Blank, they were in a fantastic defensive position. Now they're just sort of on par with Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe even slightly behind.
I was going to say, I mean, to speak to the other side of that, Hong Kong Attitude did use up all of their ultimates as well. But yeah, that just means this isn't.
But they're still
fight.
further ahead.
Yeah, it just means this is an even fight. And now with K4 holding on to an ultimate and Jin Kao just getting his, they should have the upper hand here. So Blank have an uphill battle now. They have to secure kills really quick. Oh, they do actually find 18. Jin Kao still uncontested in this high ground. The tempo race to come in could be all they need to keep this on going. Blank have a fair walk back, and they're a little bit scattered. They're going to try and regroup, maybe going for one last defense, because there is enough space to do that.
Well, this is going to be Hong Kong Attitude still committing to this one. Tag Visor now in play as well for K4. So the Transcendence coming out from Gumber as well. This is what's been keeping them alive for a lot of these fights.
He was trying to save Kiki, he just didn't get it in time. Trill, he's just sort of running around with the blade out and not finding anything for it. But, well, I mean, he got the 1 kill, and that is going to be enough to kind of stop them up again. But still, Blank looking lean on ultimates, and Hong Kong Attitude still have enough time to push.
This is kind of what Blank needed the last fight. They needed to be able to win a defense just on the sort of bare bones amount of ultimates possible. Now, they won it on 2 ultimates there. They needed to win their last fight on 2 ultimates. They're still not out of the woods yet because they still don't have enough.
You know
ultimates to play
what?
with.
But the kill on Jinkao, the DPS with the ultimate for HKA, should be able to secure this one for Blank here.
Yeah,
the sound barrier to keep
34
them
seconds to go
safe.
as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 ultimates to get a couple of kills, but bleeding down the clock is the valuable thing at this point. And ATAR, without even using the ultimate, is going to get a huge ring of kills there. And now with 2 in the pocket, they should be able to contest HKA here. I think I was going to say, I think we're about to have a pause coming through here. As you can see, YouTube is buffering for one of their players.
Yeah, one of their players is
what
buffering.
Player is that? Is that Mango?
I
think
can't
it's Mango.
remember because I need to see who the other 5 are. But, so, okay, what was like 20 seconds left for Hong Kong Attitude. I assume Mango coming back, he's not going to have an ultimate because he's reconnecting, I don't think he was on ultimate anyway, so whatever.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, they have a rocket barrage, and I think they may have a self-destruct as well, which has just come up. They have a couple of others that are getting close. I think they might have a tactical visor
rocket
soon.
barrage is not reliable at all as an ultimate. Like you have to get, it's kind of a death sentence for first.
It's rocket barrage.
That's pretty accurate, actually. That is exactly what happened.
Especially when ATAR is currently sitting on a tactical visor.
So yeah, you're playing Rocket Barrage into a Genji with Deflect and also a Soldiers. That's a guaranteed death sentence for a Varus. So you have to be able to use it quite tactically, quite opportunistically as well. So it's difficult to get mileage out of.
When you say opportunistically, I feel like what that really means is they have to kill the Genji, they have to kill the Soldier 76, and
just play around.
What resources do they even have to do that?
It's like play around the deflect. It's like understand the deflect is down, understand the attack visor's down. Just play around that kind of stuff. Or like immediately when you rocket barrage, your first kill is on ATAR Soldier, right? That immediately removes your biggest threat. And if Trill's deflect is down as well, you don't have to worry about that and you're in a great position. You can't initiate fights ever with Rocket Barrage. You have to be the one sort of using it midway. It's the kind of ultimate you want to commit part way through a fight, never to start a fight. And usually, not to end a fight either because it's a little bit too late. But I don't know. Hong Kong Attitude don't have a lot to work with here. I feel like they have to be able to get as much out of these ultimates as possible, but they're not the best ultimates to sort of get the most distance out with. So it's going to be tough, but they have to get both. I feel they have to get both Trill and ATAR, and particularly Trill, who's been doing, for me anyway, on Blank side, been getting the most important kills at the most important times to secure Blank's defense. Yeah,
I would say there are 3 ways. There are 3 ways that Hong Kong Attitude could take a fight here and win, given what resources we assume they have available. The first is somehow they draw out the Dragon Blade and the tactical visor, and they don't lose anyone to it really, because even after those coming out, even if they just lose 1 member, I don't know if they can really win that fight. It would be a really tricky one, but that's one of their options. The other option is to somehow kill ATAR and who's currently on their Genji? Trill, I believe.
Trill, yeah.
Yeah, Trill and ATAR before the ultimates are used. That is also a tall order, because how do they do that without committing something like a rocket barrage? And then of course the third option is you commit the rocket barrage and you commit it pretty much entirely onto ATAR to take him out of the picture, and maybe you get a bit of extra damage. And that only makes it a slightly less of an incline for this uphill battle. Let's see though.
Oh, there's almost a Riz as well, which could be good.
Take.
The Riz might just be enough to save them because CQB is not that far off. And a good Riz, now Tech Vice has already been used by ATAR.
Opening it out with the self-destruct, and yeah, that's just gonna mean Shaolin dies.
Yeah, CQB has to Riz here.
He has to, but he's got to get a position for it.
Yeah, there it
but
is.
He didn't catch K4 in
that's
it,
a big deal.
and Jin Kao had already committed the rocket barrage. Ating is nearly dead mid-ult Shaolin. I mean, really, the res just meant that Blank could kill them all a second time as the overtime ticks down, and despite being absolutely dismantled on the opening defense, Blank held handily in the hang.
Well, Hong Kong Attitude played the first. Well, they punished well. Well, they didn't punish perfectly. Again, so here's the thing. Blank made a super risky play that absolutely did not pay off them. I don't think any team should ever make that. You'd have to be really cocky to make that kind of play. You have to be so confident to make that kind of play. And even for a team as good as Blankers, I don't think they would have gotten away with it, and they didn't get away with it. Now for Hong Kong Attitude, they did punish it. They could have punished it a little bit harder and got a few more kills, maybe played it a little bit more aggressively. It's fine, they still got the punish, they still got the cap. Now here's the thing, second checkpoint, Blank, one of the defenses used 6 ultimates. After that, I feel like Hong Kong Attitude, there is no way they don't come back in the next fight and win that because they're actually ahead. Now, when you're ahead on the attack, you should win that. I don't understand how Blank use 6 ultimates on defense, you go for a full reset on attack, and then you don't come back and win it. That's just kind of ridiculous to me. So for Hong Kong Attitude, they, so Blank make I would say like 2 game-defining mistakes. One on first checkpoint with that kind of crazy defense on the spawn. Okay, they got punished, and then committing 6 ultimates onto the defense. Another game-changing sort of, a game-losing, I'll say, sort of, event that doesn't go punished.
So, I feel like much like what we just saw in Hanamura, both teams made mistakes. It just happened to be that Blank still took out the win, and that's all I can say about that. And I mean, I never thought I'd catch myself saying this, but at this point, who even knows if they're going to pull out the win here? I feel like they should, but my feelings so far tonight have just been completely wrong. Everything I thought I knew about Blank has kind of been turned on its head a little bit here. They aren't looking as clean and consistent as I have previously known them to be. Maybe they will clean it up again in this game.
Maybe Blank are just like testing things out. I feel like this is not the best place to be experimenting. Like, do this in scrims, but I don't know. I don't really think it's a good place to do it in a tournament setting. I will say something about Blank though, is the triple DPS is still incredibly effective, whether they're running an attack or defense. Not even Hong Kong Attitude is able to fully, I would say, counter the triple DPS. They've probably been the team that has kind of had one of the best runs against it, but is so far still really been kind of inconsistent against it. Here goes the Ting, the super charge.
They're going.
That's going to be a death.
Yeah, I mean, they'd already picked off Gunber as well, so that was actually a smart.
That's interesting.
That was a smart commit out of Ting. That was how they were able to get Trill out of that one. So I do have to agree with how they played that one. They did give up a lot of ground to Blank though, and they just, like I said, just gave it up. It wasn't like Blank were necessarily pressuring them in any particularly special way. But the Hong Kong Attitude, they do
pressure me in a special way.
Hey, excuse me. Later. They do still have some resources available here, and I think they should be able to set up a good defense here, but Blank are known to crack.
Hong Kong Attitude
Hong
Kong Attitude need to use his nano boost like ASAP. They need to get it into the next fight. They need to prevent Blank from getting any momentum, because Blank are about to get way more ultimates than Hong Kong Attitude can handle here. So Hong Kong Attitude have to take initiative and make the first move with the nano boost. And if they don't do that, they're going to be in a tough spot. So I really hope they do it.
Quick fingers there to get the sound barrier out, stop the death from coming in, and that's going to be the Tac Visor committed. That is 2 ultimates for 3 ultimates actually, so Blank should not be walking away happy with that trade. I'm a liar, it's 3 ultimates for 3 ultimates. Maybe they can be happy, but again, it does just bleed down the clock, and actually 2 minutes isn't a huge amount of time.
Yeah, actually, for Hong Kong Attitude, this is kind of still defendable. 2 minutes isn't, especially if Blank don't actually cap out the first checkpoint, then it doesn't matter that Hong Kong Attitude had a poor second checkpoint, because they're not even going to get there if they can just hold on to the first checkpoint. And it's not impossible either. I mean, I've seen plenty of first checkpoint holds in Gibraltar, so it's doable, especially for Hong Kong Attitude that are now have a decent amount of ults to play with.
The ultimates are 3 for 3. All they've got to do is bait out the Transcendence.
Well, someone landed in the Shadow somewhere.
Yeah, they didn't even need to bait out the Transcendence. They just got kills. They're going to do it again. They're just going to have a defense, and it was all off the back of A-Ting, who, let's be fair, we were previously absolutely smack-talking, totally cleaned it up there. 1 ultimate for 3 kills and an ultimate out of Kiki.
Well,
that is huge for HKA.
Again, it's this is Reinhardt versus no Reinhardt, so I will still say that A-Ting has not had the hottest performance, but, yeah, sure, there's a good Earth Shatter, but you weren't playing against another Reinhardt, so you're expected to get a good Earth Shatter here. If you didn't get a good Earth Shatter, I'd be disappointed.
Well, sure, but I mean, still, the good Earth Shatter did everything.
It's still a good Earth
Yeah,
Shatter.
they're going to commit to the fight again. Xiaolin actually already low despite popping the ultimate, but he should be able to get topped off. And the time is running thin here for Blank, as Kiki is getting really badly
35 seconds already?
He's committed the ultimate, but there's the Transcendence to come out as well from Gunba, so if they don't get anything with this,
still a Dragon Blade.
Resources. Yeah, the defense gets just kind of throwing everything in the kitchen sink. Trill going down mid Dragon Blade. A Ting gets picked off, but I don't know if that's enough at this point. There's just under 20 seconds. And Blank is still struggling. Gunba down as well as RQT. My goodness gracious me, they're going to do it. HKA.
Is this it?
Blank threw everything in the kitchen sink. It is. It is. They're 2.
A Blank gonna drop 2 maps? Are you serious?
This is going to a game 5. Blank have not been in this position for months.
Okay, so I said if Hong Kong Attitude got 1 map, that would be a big win. If they got 2 maps, that would be astounding. Now, if they get the whole series, it would be unheard of. Unheard of.
Well, until it gets heard. But I am going
You
to
hear
be...
it here first.
Yeah, you heard it here first, folks. I am going to be a quick voice of reason. I feel like Blank
I'll buckle
are
it.
not on form tonight.
No,
Hong
I don't
Kong
think Hong Kong
Attitude-
Attitude are
now,
on
hear me
form
out.
either. But
Hong Kong Attitude...
I'm just kind of tough
I mean,
like
look,
that.
they can take major positives from picking up these 2 map wins. They would be able to take even more if they picked up the whole series, don't get me wrong. But I don't think it means that a team has figured out Blank. I think it means Blank had a poor performance and they're going to go home and you know, Doctor is going to pull out the belt. Like that's not actually how they coach. Please don't take that seriously. But that's what would really be going on, right? It would actually be Blank totally dropping the ball, making major mistakes, making mistakes we don't see Blank doing ever. And they would go away, they'd figure out why, and they would fix it. They are a team that absolutely can do that, and they would come back swinging. So that is also, that's a big if. Like, this isn't as big a shake-up as maybe it would normally be if this was Blank playing at their best and losing to not just Hong Kong Attitude, but anyone. So I don't think we can quite take away all of the things we said we would have been able to take away from this situation, just because it hasn't played out the way we were expecting, and the thing we haven't expected was Blank performing this poorly. Now, they are still in contention to win the series, though, so let's not act like this is a foregone conclusion as well. We are still going to go to a Game 5, and it is going to be Blank's pick. I believe it has to be hybrid as well, and I think this is time to crack out the Numbani.
Well, yeah. I mean, to be honest, even Dorado would work pretty well for them. It's sort of...
And both have perfectly adequate soundtracks.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it can't be Dorado.
No, that's right. You're right.
So it has to be hybrid.
So it has to be... So it has to be Numbani or Hollywood?
Yeah, I don't actually think they can go back to Kings Row again. So yeah, Dorado or Hollywood.
Dorado,
no.
What are we doing? And Hollywood.
Numbani and Hollywood, yeah. And I mean, just knowing Blank, I would see them saying...
And Eichenwald, because that's a hybrid.
That is an option, but I would see them picking Numbani over either as 2 options. I would see them picking Numbani over Hollywood, and I would see teams avoiding Eichenwald.
Hollywood is one of Hong Kong Attitude's picks, actually.
It is, but just give me a second on Eichenwald. Because of the new paths, a lot of the teams, even though they're practicing on it, they're not quite so confident on holding the defense just yet, because it's a bit different to what it used to be. There are other opportunities for teams to break it. So, I think... yeah, Eichenwald is probably going to be a no-go for a week or so, is what I'm going to say.
I think Blank would have to be super confident in Eichenwald or have some sort of pocket strategy for that to really pull it out.
Orisa?
Like, for Blank so far, if they're playing with if they're not respecting Hong Kong Attitude yet, they need to now, because some of the moves they've been making and some of the ways they've been playing does give off the sort of vibe that there is a bit of disrespect here. Like, oh, we can just make this aggressive spawn play. Like, who does that? No one does that at a professional level. That just doesn't happen. So
save it for scrims.
Even doing the scrims is like unheard of, because it just doesn't pay off. Like, to do that to another team is like, you have to be so confident that you're just incredibly better. Like, that's
it would
something
be
you
like
do in a
robbing
pub.
their house and high-fiving them on the way out. It'd be ludicrous. If you're gonna rob a house, just get out.
So yeah, like, if you don't respect Hong Kong Attitude yet, and you've just now dropped to make no mistake, Hong Kong Attitude have now had the best results of any team against Blank in the entire tournament to date.
In like the last 2 or 3 tournaments they've played, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. No team
outside of
taken
playoffs,
2 full maps.
I think maybe some teams have in some playoffs, but certainly not in this kind of situation.
I'll tell you what, Blank have not lost a single best of 5 set since they were as Jam Gaming, I believe. So like
You're
last year.
Right.
So so not only have they not lost an entire set, but I don't think they've even lost 2 maps in a set. So today marks the first day they've actually lost 2 maps in a total set since like last year. And the last time they played an iteration of Hong Kong Attitude, which back in the day two members of Bongmi, which was Mango and K4. That was a 4-0 best of 7 sweep in Blank's favor against that team. So
you're completely right.
And it is Numbani. So
hey, there we go. Well,
and I'm not surprised, and I don't think either of us are surprised about this. This is one of Blank's favored picks. This is one of the picks that they really like to go for. Now,
the last time I've ever seen them struggle on this was in actually the Summer Series Finals, where it was the first map that they played against Scylla, and it did go to time bank. Scylla barely got the first cap, and actually just played extremely well throughout the rest of it. And then Blank still won, and the day before had beaten them much more easily on Numbani. So, like, let's be completely clear. If they lose Numbani here, something has gone horribly wrong inside Blank.
I think
there can be no other reason. It won't be because Hong Kong Attitude have just figured out Blank.
Let's be real. They've dropped 2 maps. Something already has gone horribly wrong.
Yeah, something has already gone wrong. We don't know if it's gone horribly wrong yet.
Yeah.
It's like
they're in the process of making themselves widows, but we're not quite there.
Yeah, they've got like a Dr. Nutter and Mr. Hyde situation going on when they're coaching. Like sometimes he's this real chilled out mentor, but then sometimes he pulls out the belt. Maybe that's what's going wrong. Who knows?
One mistake I do know that Blank make on Numbani is that on the second, particularly on defense, in fact, definitely on defense, second checkpoint is they like to play the attackers spawn on the second checkpoint defense, and that has cost them a few fights for sure, where
fights,
they need
but
to
not caps.
Well, it puts them in a really bad position cap-wise. So that's the thing is, if you do lose a fight there, the cart gets pushed far enough that it's nearly at the cap actually. So in terms of momentum, you actually give the attacking team a lot of momentum there. So it's a very risky place to take fights. So you have to be able to balance whether what is the limit and how far you can actually push that kind of defense before you've gone too far and you've overstepped your boundaries and you've outstayed your welcome at the spawn, and you just need to leave. You cannot contest that anymore. You have to be able to understand where that limit is, and for Blank, I feel like they've been testing the boundaries quite a bit, and many a time, they have overstayed their welcome. They haven't respected where that line in the sand is, and they haven't identified where that line in the sand is, and it has been costing them a defense or two. So they can't continue to do that. They have to be able to understand where exactly that limit is and respect it.
Yeah, and it's time for Blank to just chill out. Just play something a little less risky because they're still a good team, right? They can do the less risky thing, and even though it's lower reward, it can still work for them resoundingly because they're a very good team. They're losing because the risk is not paying off. They're falling on the wrong side of what risks teams
They are playing a high risk, high reward style.
Yeah. And the thing with high risk, high reward is if it falls through, you don't get the reward, you get the opposite thing, right? You get the precipitous fall. You get an absolute spiraling disaster rather than a small...
The bigger they are, the bigger the fall?
Like rather than a small mitigatable disaster. What they need to do is go for easier defenses so they don't get that kind of fall. I want to speak to the other side of this, though, and it kind of jumps on something you were saying before. I'm going to be totally honest, though. On Numbani, even if Blank do, like all the, what we've just been saying with them kind of overextending when they're taking the defense, I feel like even if they do all of that, they've held against better teams than Hong Kong Attitude. And Hong Kong Attitude, they haven't actually made the most of Blank's mistakes. They've just made enough. So, can Hong Kong Attitude in that situation still even take Numbani off Blank? I don't know if they can.
I think at this stage, if any team can, it probably is Hong Kong Attitude. In this particular series anyway. This night and in this series, if any team can do it, it's got to be Hong Kong Attitude. Like, no team has had this good of a performance against Blank. So, if no team's going to do it, it's got to be them.
I hate saying this, but I still can't help but feel that it would be Blank's fault, not HKA's success.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that. But
and I feel like that's a weird situation. Like it feels like we're just like it feels like just shaking hands and going, oh no, I swear they're not as bad as they look, right? But I mean, I don't even know how much positive HKA can take away from this because I don't think Blank have actually given them the test we were expecting.
It takes a lot.
They can take some mental things away from this, but I don't think they can take much in terms of their actual gameplay. But look, this is all very, very speculative, right? We can only get answers when we arrive at Numbani, and that is going to happen just after a short break, so don't go anywhere. And if you are just joining us, welcome to the parallel dimension where Hong Kong Attitude take blank to a Game 5.
And maybe even take a series, who knows? At this point, anything's possible, right? I mean, I think Hong Kong Attitude, like they've made plenty of mistakes on their own, but at the same time, you got to give credit where credit's due. And first team to take blank to a Game 5, and what I would probably say,
knows how long?
In the whole of 2017.
6 months, if not more, right? That's and like most rosters in this tournament haven't even been around for 6 months. And
Hong Kong Attitude was one of those rosters that have not been around
exactly.
that long.
And this is also only the second best of 5 we've had so far. Funnily enough, the first one was AHQ, Hong Kong Attitude, and it was a reverse sweep from Hong Kong Attitude. Maybe this is
AHQ won that.
Sorry, no, the other way around. It was a reverse sweep, but it was against Hong Kong Attitude, but now Hong Kong Attitude are the ones who have just won 2 games after coming down 2. So maybe this is the Hong Kong Attitude trend. You play Hong Kong Attitude, whoever goes down 2 games loses. Maybe that's how it goes.
I think that's a big wake-up call. That like once
you're
you're 2 games up and you lose 2, that's a big wake-up call for the team that's behind.
The first one, losing Assault, look, okay, maybe I can pass it off because they did have a bit of a record of losing Assault games. They just lost it to Flash Wolves, they just lost it to AHQ. I'm still surprised that they lost it to Hong Kong Attitude, given what I thought.
I'm really not.
Hear me out, just given what I thought the relative strength of these teams were. I'm not having seen the performance, but if you had told me that at the top of the night they would drop that, I would have gone, oh, okay, maybe plausible, right? If you had told me they were going to drop Watchpoint Gibraltar, I would have punched you in the face and kicked you out of my house.
Luckily, we're not in your house.
Yeah, because otherwise
but no one,
you would have
no one said that. No one would have bet on them losing Gibraltar.
Yeah, I mean, whoever did is making a killing.
Hong Kong
right
Attitude
now.
made that bet though.
Oh yeah.
They knew something.
No,
that's actually a Bastion. That's a real pick. That's actually
a real.
Pick.
It's a okay. I
get this straight. I know exactly what this is.
This is interesting, and this could actually take blank by surprise just enough. Let's see how it goes. They still haven't quite revealed it. Yeah, now it's been spotted out. Well, it doesn't have a shield to hide behind. Yeah, that does.
Okay, wow.
Jin Kao, why don't you just fly into the rocket, huh? How about that?
That entire composition and attacking strategy relies on the Reinhardt shield being there to protect the Bastion. As soon as the Reinhardt goes down, that composition falls apart immediately. I think it's actually surprisingly kind of poor against Farah because of the splash damage you can deal behind the shield.
Are they still
you have to be able to get the actual Bastion set up. Now, they never had a chance to get K4 set up. Are they going to go for it again? I would say possible.
They shouldn't, but it looks like they are.
And it's going to be hard. Like, they have to actually get past the Ferris spam here.
And now they know that it's coming, too. Here we go. They're just going to waste no time and set it up. And the defense matrix
very
gives
little
them
targets,
space to retreat. Yeah.
He's going to have to reset up here because his angle's not that good.
It's kind of terrible. And like I said, the defense matrix allowed Blank the time to retreat. So they're safe from the Bastion. Like you said, has to now reset up because of that. And they're going to be able to keep the break.
K4 right
hold on a split second there. ATAR standing too exposed for too long. Actually, K4 is able to get into a slightly better position. Charged. Yeah, that would be a little bit nasty, but Kiki, very, very deep. What are you doing there, buddy? You can't block the Bastion if your back's turned to him. And now they're in disarray, trying to hold down this point. Yeah.
That changes things.
It changes things, but maybe only, there we go. Losing the healer is going to be a death set. K4, what? I'm going to stop talking because I just don't know what's going to happen.
Well, what's going to happen is take Visor out from Ada, so this is going to be a bit of a comeback. Like I said, that entire composition with Bastion, it loses as soon as your main tank goes down. So you don't even have to go for K4. You just go for a ting. You kill him, which they did. Composition falls apart.
Look at that. Did you just see like the no-look shot with that? That was sick. Like he had the D.Va out of the mech and he shot the one and he got the direct shot. So he just shot the second one and then just turned around like, that's gonna hurt. Yeah. It's like cool guys don't look at explosions, you know?
There have been a few heartbreaking moments where you expect that to kill and it doesn't. You're like, oh, I should have really stayed on. But you know, it's cool when it happens. It just looks really stupid.
Okay, let's assess real quick. So fairly even ultimates. both teams going to have a res available. Trill, big commitment. Oh, and it pays off. He got very low, but they kept him topped off. That's going to be very big for them.
Jinkal
getting the trade back, but that's the tempo res out of RQT. CQB had already used his, and they've already lost their second healer now in Mango Jai. So, looks like Blank should have an upper hand. Oh, no, not if they lose RQT, as a big rocket barrage came out of Jinkal, and that is going to turn it back around. And hey, presto, the Bastion paid off because the ultimate did the other half of the work, and they are going to break first point Numbani.
Unfortunately, Gumba he just ended up reloading and ran out of bullets at the wrong time. Couldn't heal AVRL back up, and then couldn't get his sleep dart in time to take down.
No way.
Look,
this is a get down, Mr. President team comp.
Well, they've
like by the book, right? This
they
is
really want to win. They really want to win Numbani
in the stress test weekend, and then teams learn how to counter it.
Some things never change.
I don't believe this.
The world could always use more presidents.
Yeah. Maybe they could use less with how Trump's going. But at any rate, the fight is starting to turn very pear-shaped for Blank already. And the temporary to come out of CQB is going to mean K4 will get set back up on the payload and kill anyone else from Blank.
It's already on 70%.
Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious.
So again, this is that super aggressive defense out from Blank again. I've said this has cost for them before. Difference being is that they're not actually playing this is acceptable because they're not playing against the attacker spawn. They're actually playing in a situation where they're attacking the card directly and they're attacking a Bastion directly, so that's fine.
Like honestly, do you even just pick up Junkrat at this point?
No, what needs to happen is Eat Up needs to be able to get a stick onto K4 with the pulse bomb. That's all they need.
Drill deep, he's going to be able to stop up the Bastion for a moment, but he doesn't close out the kill on CQB, who is going to close it out as Kiki, so the dive is starting to work. This is how you counter it out, and this is what makes it hard to protect the President, right? The President has overextended, the package has not been delivered. Black Hawk down, I don't know, whatever they say when the President dies and Shaolin takes a dive for King and Country.
Air Force One has been compromised.
Yeah, there we go. Blank have found the opportunity. They managed to shut out K4, and it does force him to change. So good work by Blank, and now because the rest of the team of HKA has to change to facilitate K4, Blank do get an opportunity to establish ultimate advantage.
And no more Bastion as well. They got a decent amount of card distance.
Mr. President.
Yeah, they got a decent amount of card distance, so it's not all lost there. I do like K4 on back on the King 2 though. I feel like this is a much safer composition that they know what they can get out of this.
Well, and what they can get out of this is 3 kills and a bag
Not
of
on
chips.
their side though.
Yeah, well,
the other team gets
3 kills. But I mean, maybe HKA could have got 3 kills, but it's Blank getting the 3 kills, and like I said, the bag of chips, and then a few more kills to follow up with that as a bit of a chaser. So here we go, Blank, like I said, opportunity to find their feet, and it looks like they have got it now with just under a minute left. HKA, probably got time for one bad fight and then one good fight, but it would have to be 2 quick fights.
I'm going to say realistically just one fight in general. They have no ultimates to work with here, which is a problem. But at the same time, no, that's a lie. Blank have a decent amount of ultimates coming back online for them, so they're about to sit on 4 against 0. Hong Kong Attitude have won fights like this before though, so it's not totally over.
Well, not when you lose your healer right at the start. Great pick out to kill off Mango Jai, and then AVRL with the sound barrier running is going to just wreak havoc. This is Blank looking a little more cozy and comfortable, just getting the sheer out frag, and maybe
this
HKA...
should be a spawn camp. This needs to be a spawn camp now.
Yeah, maybe HKA just got a little bit too excited with the victory in their sights. They need to just clean it up, break the spawn camp. They may be able to still make a mad dash for the payload. Looking to do it right about now. Jinkal going deep, but he's got that Diva self-destruct beneath him, and it is going to knock him out of the sky. Yeah, along with his healer. No Mango Jai left for him. And yeah, easy peasy. No Dallas Vitality tonight, and Blank look like they are set to make this hold happen. I don't know what to say about that. I'm going to have plenty of time to disseminate it in a moment. Let's just take this at face value. What now do Blank need to do on their offense?
They just have to get better than 91 meters, and they'll take it pretty safely. So for Blank, they don't need to really do that much. They got a decent amount of time to work with. But Hong Kong, like this is before we write off anything in this map yet. Like, just remember on Gibraltar,
we thought it was going to be...
Blank did this great second checkpoint hold where they completely blocked off Stonewalled Hong Kong Attitude from getting any cast distance inside the hangar at all. Guess what? Hong Kong Attitude did a first checkpoint hold. So, can Hong Kong Attitude do that again? It's actually possible.
Maybe,
it's not out of the question.
Certainly based off what we've seen tonight.
I think...
Again, before tonight, it would have been a much different answer. I would have said, yeah, like of course Blank can push that through. Like it's Blank if they've got a hole. Like you know, but yeah, tonight I don't know, different story. But also Hong Kong Attitude do need to tap back into what had them holding. And I will be fair. I will give credit where credit was due. Their hold on Gibraltar was very good. I'm going to rightfully chalk a lot of what's happened tonight up to Blank playing quite poorly, but that offense wasn't Blank playing really, really poorly. It was them just playing mediocre, and actually Hong Kong Attitude holding that defense very, very well. So if we're giving credit where credit's due, I think Hong Kong Attitude can first hold Numbani.
It's possible. I wouldn't count them out of it at all.
Oh, I'm definitely not counting them
I would
out.
absolutely consider they can.
Even on a good day for Blank, I wouldn't count Hong Kong Attitude out of this.
In fact, first checkpoint Numbani is one of the maps where you're more expected, or you're more favored to hold up because the defender spawn is actually a lot closer to the first checkpoint than a lot of the other hybrids and escorts. So if any team is ever going to do a first checkpoint hold, I believe Numbani is the map to do it on. Just because of spawn differences and just the spawn links. I think actually the attack to the first checkpoint is a longer distance than the defense to the first checkpoint.
You're actually completely right. But yeah, like I said, I mean, even on their best day for Blank, I feel like HKA could first hold. I feel like theoretically a lot of good teams could first hold any other good team on Numbani.
Triple DPS
we were
again.
Just talking about, yeah.
With the Mercy.
Triple DPS with the Mercy, the Blank special. Let's see if it actually works out though.
Super of the day for Blank.
They're already on. They're already on the point. Yeah, the soup of the day is well warmed up, but the good pick off catching RQT. K4 sitting on this high ground, and Trill is too low to really stick in this one. No Gunba in his pocket just yet. He's finally going to get to the Barrow, but that has just kind of warded off the first retreat. So no crazy surprise attacks out of Blank, and HK have now sounded out what is going to be attacking them and can bet it.
This is a full battlements commit, like on one side of the battlements as well for Hong Kong Attitude. So realistic for Blank. Now, unfortunately, they're not running the composition to do this, but they can take the other side of the battlements quite easily. Again, though, the composition just wants to dive, so they're not going to be able to really take it.
Now they're actually really starting to get the hold, and again, I feel like they sounded out what Blank's pulling on the offense, and Trill, yeah, kept committing even when low there. No surprises. Shaolin is the only one dead for HKA, so they're going to be nice and fine to hold this one. And what's going to start happening is this Torbjorn is going to rack up the armor, and these are going to be much harder teammates to kill.
Well, yeah, a Torbjorn composition, you just need to win one team fight, and then the armor shard starts showing up, and that's when the health on your team starts going crazy. And that's all you need. You just need to win one team fight for the armor to start stacking. And this is the position Hong Kong Attitude is sitting in. Like, we're almost on 2 minutes. That means half the time is already gone.
Yeah, like I said,
like 50% of this attacking time just disappeared.
Yeah, any team could do this. Like, I mean, this is exactly why. But this is a little bit of a better one. Picking out. Here we go. Oh, that's big for them. Trill getting a lot of work done, taking out K4, but he does get traded off. Tempo res to get Trill back in the fight as Kiki is going for it as well. Sound barrier now to keep them topped off. They must close out kills ASAP, and they're starting to make it work. There we go. Atar doing what we know from him, and yeah, who ordered the Blank special. They had to send it back to the kitchen, but this time it's come out a little bit more well prepared, and if they can close out a last few sets of kills here, have a nice, have a nightcap, get the payload rolling.
That was the exact definition of high risk, high reward. Trill going in with a rocket barrage against attack visor. He could have easily been shut out from that. Like, I expected K4 to snipe him out of the sky, but because he got the kill on K4, that changed everything. Completely won the fight for them. So, wow. I mean, now they're getting super aggressive again,
yeah,
just stopping HKA from getting any sort of stabilization.
It's what we saw on King's Row, and it worked. They go very aggressive. They sit one person on the payload.
They got no
a second person there as well, and they're just using the aerial superiority that they have for the time being with the tight sightlines on Numbani to keep. Stop HKA really from mounting a solid defense. They are slowly going to start to mount a defense, make no mistake, but Blank have bought themselves a ton of room here.
Card distance is getting super close now. Hong Kong Attitude got to make their move, and they're going to make their move fast. They can't afford to give, realistically, any more space for Blank, because, you know, give Blank an inch, they take a mile here. So.
And there's the mile being taken by Trill as again the tempo res through from Gunba. And with the kills already closed out, 18 going down as well, they've got this one pretty happily sussed. They do still need to close out the last few kills, but with the payload this close, with all the ground they made, Blank are looking to pull it out. Yeah,
that's going to be the full cap. Unfortunately for Hong Kong Attitude, look, they're having a fantastic run. K4, the final member, not going to be able to get there in time. Blank take it out 3-2, a very hard-fought series.
Hard fought indeed. And maybe the hardest thing actually was Blank recovering from an awful position. A position where they were at risk of losing the series. Like we said, anyone can full hold of the party, right? Absolutely anyone. Not the least HKA. And this is after Blank had already had some troublesome performances. First Messi player game we've had, by the way. Fun fact for you, little trivia. So that's the situation that they found themselves in, and to have the fortitude to come back around to this. I mean, look, it's a well enough earned win. There's a lot of negative things we can say, but we are, I think, right to give a bit of positive at the end of the night to Blank for turning this around. But let's touch back on those negative things, because there are so many things that all the other teams in this tournament can take away. And I'll let you go in just a second, because I've got a good one here, because you said this before this whole matchup, right? Blank have often been an unknown quantity. They practice against these Korean teams, and they stay very, very quiet and very, very private, and then they come out of nowhere in tournaments. And, you know, in a couple of weeks of a tournament, they just blitz everyone, and everyone's like, oh my God, what the hell happened? And then they find themselves in this tournament, which is going to stretch on for...
They just find themselves here.
This happened to be...
Whoa,
no,
what
they earned their spot here. But in any case, they find themselves now in this tournament, which is a much longer tournament than any other. This is untested ground. Not just for Blank, but for all of these teams. And all those other teams are going to go away and look at what happened tonight and see where Blank went wrong. They're going to know that Blank can play better than what they did, but they are going to expose the weaknesses that were shown. And they are going to start disassembling Blank, especially teams with big sets of coaching staff, teams like Flashwolves, teams like AHQ, teams that really have the infrastructure. All right, and then once they've cracked it, all the other teams will follow suit.
I mean, it's local infrastructure too, because
it doesn't mean
that
it is a done deal, but it now means that Blank have to keep moving to stay ahead of the race. They are not in a comfortable spot anymore. No. They are no longer Usain Bolt.
Look, if Hong Kong Attitude can take it to Game 5, I mean, teams are already catching up, and this is, what is week 3 out of like 11 weeks of round robin and 2 weeks of play, so 13 weeks of total play. If in week 3 teams are already taking to Map 5 against Blank,
we haven't even finished the first round robin yet. I expected that maybe we'd see this in like round robin 2 or 3, but here it is.
I think Blank cannot get complacent here at all. I think you come into this tournament as favorites, but you may not. That doesn't mean you leave the tournament as winners, right? Like, not at all. And what I wanted to say before is the big difference in that fight. Like, I actually expect, like, on some level, Hong Kong Attitude absolutely could have won Numbani. From the first checkpoint, if the difference being Trill sniped out K4 with the rocket barrage, had that been K4 killing Trill before the rocket barrage, or even as the rocket barrage came out, you know. He had the tac visor. Look, he could have gotten that kill.
He could have cleaned up the whole team.
If he killed Trill with the tac visor, he would have cleaned up the rest of the team. That would have been a continued hold for Hong Kong Attitude.
And we'd be sitting here stunned. We'd be sitting here stunned going, how did they lose?
Changed everything. That Trill rocket barrage absolutely changed everything for them. So
that's the thing, right? That's exactly what we've been saying. Credit to Blank where credit is due for, at that pivotal moment, having it go in the way that had them winning, right? That is credit where credit's due. But we have to also point out the negative. They should not have found themselves in that situation.
Yeah.
Realistically, no team ever wants to find themselves in that situation, but Blank are not a team we expected to find in that situation. Let's talk, though, about the other side of this, okay? Because we have to. We talked about this at the start of the night. We actually focused a lot on Hong Kong Attitude and what tonight's games would mean to them, because they are also the ones going into the back-to-back. And we said it was interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they face. Team. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they play against the top team and whether they can beat Machi, who are currently the guardians for that top 4. So after this, I'm going to go ahead and say they can beat Machi. I absolutely think they can.
I actually think Hong Kong Attitude are the guardians for top 4.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. But I don't think... I think the first half of what we supposed hasn't really been answered yet. I don't think that Hong Kong Attitude can take much away from this performance against the topmost team, even though it was arguably a close match, because I feel like too much of this can be chalked up to mistakes on both sides here. And that's that doesn't yield useful information for anyone, for either team, except for fixing your own mistakes. And Hong Kong Attitude are about to play another match. They don't have the huge amount of time. Like, they don't have the evening and the week or whatever to go away and disseminate this match and check the VODs and go through it with analysts and figure out what went wrong and then come back and play matchy. They just have to go straight into it. But I still think they can be matchy.
I think I think they are favored against Machi, definitely. I think Machi, who
at this point.
we've already gone down to Fireball, which is a very telling sort of result.
And a team that Hong Kong Attitude beat. I mean, I feel like there's another thing at play there because of Fireball's own progression through this and how they've kind of figured out a style of play that's worked for them. But whether that means they would beat Hong Kong Attitude if they play right now is still a little bit questionable. This is going to be a match that maybe gives us some indication of that, but I mean, Fireball aside, I think on paper, yeah, Hong Kong Attitude over Machi.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that one, especially after, criticisms of this, of Blank versus Hong Kong Attitude decided, and Hong Kong Attitude again, taking it to map 5, taking 2 maps off of Blank. Best performance against Blank so far in the tournament. Machi got the work cut out. I don't expect Machi to do well against... I think they're going to really struggle because Hong Kong Attitude are in a spot where they are able to really take it to Blank. And, maybe Blank did make mistakes tonight, but it does take a team to be able to punish those mistakes and be able to make the best of the situations to come out on top and really make something out of it. So,
We're going to be able to jump into an interview now with Blank Esports. And I'm sorry, Kevin, your services are not required because this will be...
They got Serenity there instead.
好，我这边有几个问题呢要问他。第一个问题就是在国王大道地图当中呢，他使用了4支坦克的阵法，但是他之前也用过4支坦克阵法，但是不如预期的好，为什么又想要拿出来使用？
We previously ran 4 tanks on King's Row and it wasn't as good as we expected, so why did we run 4 tanks today as well?
We were originally going to run 4 tanks because we thought it'd be good against their dive. Turns out it wasn't. It was my idea. It didn't work too well, so when we played it again in the second round, we changed our comp to something more suitable.
我们本来是预期他们也是会玩刺客阵，所以我们用4支坦来针对。之后发现说不如其效的话，我们第2次进攻的时候就直接换成我们的拿手刺客阵。
哦，了解。好，第二个问题呢，就是要问说为什么要 Chill 呢拿原式，而且还带76呢？
Why we put Trill on put Trill on Genji and run the soldiers all in our 3 DPS?
Well, with the patch, we think 3 DPS could be the new meta, so we've been experimenting with that. We haven't played it too much in scrims, so as you can tell, we didn't play too well today. So there's a lot of work to do there, but we think the 3 DPS might be the upcoming meta.
就是最近路修改版之后，我们认为说现在的 meta 就是会是出3支 DPS。我们实际上练这个的时间没有那么长，所以那个从我们的表现就看得出来。
是，好，再来最后一个问题呢，就是要问他说，刚刚有想过刚刚的比赛会打到平手吗
？Have you ever thought that the games will be this close?
No, HK played really well today. We didn't have our best showing, but they played really well and they took it to us, and it's the closest we've had to play in this entire tournament so far, so they should be really proud.
我们从来没有预期过说比数会这么接近，他们今天都玩得他们都打得非常好，然后我们的表现没有那么优秀。
好，再次呢，恭喜 Black Esports 赢得这场比赛。下一场呢是台湾的 Margin Esports 对上香港的 Hong Kong Active， 台港之战马上回来。
Well, there you have it from the man himself, and actually, pretty much a lot of what we were saying. That's
6 sideburns on Serenity as well.
Credit where credit's due, since that's what we like to say. So, all right, let's bottle that one up and put a cap on it, and let that one sit in the fridge until it's time to crack it back out, and that will be when Blank next play, which is later this weekend against Sun Sister. We'll address that at another time, at an opportune juncture. For now, though, let's take a very brief look at this next matchup. We've already had a bit of a tentative statement about it, HKA versus Machi. Let's just speak to the Machi side of that real quick before we go to a break. So, given what we've just seen from Hong Kong Attitude, what will Machi need to pull out to overcome that?
Hong Kong Attitude have made a decent amount of mistakes tonight as well, so if Machi can really capitalize on that, really get the punish and get the mileage out of punishing Hong Kong Attitude's mistakes, that's going to be something they can sort of take to their advantage. I think, struggling to remember the guy's name, but Machi Esports tank as well, who is DCR1, if I'm not incorrect on that one, it's DCR1 has kind of been quite impressive to me as well. So I think a Ting hasn't had the hottest performance tonight, so if DCR1 pulls one out above a Ting, that's going to be something that's going to work in their favor as well.
Yeah, absolutely a boon for them. And I'm sorry that your services weren't needed for that interview.
You'll want me
because
later.
I want to give you a shout out, my good friend here. For those of you at home, you may or may not have been able to tell, and with any luck, you haven't been able to tell. Our good friend Kevin AVRL Walker here is not feeling the best. He is sticking it out through a very, very rough flu, and we have still got a solid night ahead of us, still another match to go. So hang in there, buddy. You're doing a great job, and we will be right back after the break with Hong Kong Attitude versus Machi Esports.